Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Alright, time to beat this game in 10 minutes. I'm joking. But, we do have a couple of things to do very quickly here. I'm going to do some of those really quick. I fail at doing some of those things. That's also extremely important. I was specifically asked to take my time, Darkrai. Because trust me, I could easily have beaten this in one shaft. I'm going to go to Blade Cheval for just a second. So this is the Houlihan room. Thank you, Blade Cheval. Always appreciate. Those of you who don't know this game are probably thinking, like, nothing special just happened. But I actually just glitched the game out in order to get in here. I even practiced off camera. So that's going towards Pokemon Violet, FF16, and Stranger Paradise. Yes, this is the failsafe room. It's a very typical thing. Most games have this, and that's a good thing. I mean, even games like Skyrim, and you know how wonderfully programmed Skyrim is, have this kind of a feature. I don't know where you are, so this is where I'm dumping you. If at any point in time the game loses track of your coordinates, you go here. Now, you're probably thinking, well, why'd you bother showing this off? Well, my name is Chris Houlihan. This is my top secret room. Keep it between us, okay? Here's the thing. You're probably expecting me to tell you the typical story, but you also know me, and that I like to do my research. Also, we're already capped on money. That's funny. So, the theory goes, once upon a time, there was this thing called Nintendo Power, and Nintendo Power had a contest where you could take a picture of yourself having encountered War Mech in Final Fantasy I on the NES. If you send that in, you could win a reward, and the award was going to be being presented in a future Nintendo game. End statement. New statement begins. Several people started reporting that this was actually that result, that Chris Houlihan was the person who specifically won that contest, and that that little title here was changed in order to acknowledge Chris Houlihan having won that. Here's the thing. There's no evidence of that. Obviously, this is in the Japanese version as well, where it says absolutely nothing about whoever this Chris person is. I suppose, obviously. 1 second, please. Early Castlevania block. Hitman 3, Bioshock 2, and a bow. Thank you. Thank you, Drew and Grayman. Always appreciate. There's no actual evidence that Chris is the person who won that contest. People just started saying that because, admittedly, it made a degree of sense. The timelines lined up, and it was entirely feasible. But there's no receipts, and I have done some digging on this. There's no receipts that indicate that Chris Houlihan was the one who won that. In fact, actually, more to the point, there's no receipts that anybody won that contest. Also, if you're familiar with Nintendo Power, you probably know that a lot of their contests they weren't very well run, is probably the safest way to put that. Like, there were a lot of issues with some of the little things they do. Probably the worst example of that was the one where you got to go meet Arnold Schwarzenegger on the set of... No, you didn't. You get like a quick handshake and that's it. Stuff like that, right? That's the kind of stuff Nintendo Power would do. So it's entirely feasible that they never actually had an award winner for this. Or it's entirely feasible that Chris Houlihan was the person who won this. But I should probably mention, this is so much of a question mark, we're not even sure there is a Chris Houlihan. At all. Either way, I wanted to show that off briefly. Before we go over here. So if you remember, Sahasrara was like, hey, you should go over here. We've actually already given the negative for this. Yes, Chris Houlihan was also removed from the GBA version, which is sus, to be quite frank. So these crabs hit like a truck when you come here for the first time. And if you're not ready for them, which you probably aren't, because you've just done the Eastern Palace, well, this is kind of a step up in difficulty, and a very unnecessary one, too. But this is where Sahasrara leads you. I only point this out because this is pretty much the other reason why that was a negative. This section of the game is weird, ignoring the fact that this obviously doesn't help you continue your quest, and you don't actually need the Frost Rod for quite a while, and you only need it for 2 things in the entire game, asterisk. But making the trek, even though you have the boots at this point, making the trek that I'm about to do in reverse is kind of a thing. There's a lot of new enemy types here. If you fall into the water, it's an instant huh. These guys are all over the place. But it does do one thing. One good thing, which enables it to not be a complete negative to gameplay, and that's the fact that it encourages you to go see what kind of stuff you can interact with and explore. Oh no, there's a rupee over here. Let me go grab it. There we go. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm showing off a little bit. How many of you even knew you could do what I just did? Because yeah, this is not supposed to be walkable. This is supposed to be a pit. Easiest to show off by doing it up here. As you can see, that's supposed to be a pit. Could you not, please? Thank you. Well, you could argue that, Blateful, and I would disagree with you completely. What's wrong with you, man? Why are you so wrong about everything? Time to cancel Blateful. Oh wait, no, I'm not a typical streamer. I'm sorry. Thank you, Doc Brown, for the sub. If you would like to put that towards increasing interest in up to 3 future streams, please let me know. Either way, appreciate you. Oops. So, at the point at which we're at, it's funny you say that, Ginkgo the Moshi, because I know what the inspiration was for the wall merging, but we'll get there. Let's go. I'm sorry. I'm thinking for just a moment how I want best to progress. Let's get rid of the red guys. Hang on, let's get rid of the red guys. Excuse me. Okay, red guy's gone. Yeah, by the way, there's actually a quarter mana in the game. It's not even one of those, like, hidden in the code things. It's just there. It's functional. I didn't know about that until I started doing randomizers, which add quarter mana back into the rotation. So we've just done Pod. Palace of Darkness has fallen, and we now have access to the all-important and critical hammer. Now, if you look at the map, it tells you to do Dungeon 2 next. For various reasons, I'm not a big fan of that. And as I've already demonstrated, you don't have to do that. I wasn't just doing that to sequence break, unlike what some people think. Sorry, I shouldn't joke. I apologize. I shouldn't joke. I wasn't just doing that to sequence break. I was doing it to show off that you can. That it doesn't even take that much to actually do these dungeons in just about any order. The only real thing that you need is you need to do the flute quest to access Misery Mire, and you need one of the spells to access Misery Mire. But you could get both of those right now, as I've already demonstrated, because I already have the flute. And I could get up to get the oh God, I can't remember. It's not Bombos and it's not Quake. It's the third one. Actually, no, you don't, Talia. Ether, thank you, Ether. But Ether's really quick and easy to get, so that's whatever. Then, so we've got Dungeon 2, which requires... No, not pit hovering. Do you want me to show you? Okay, hang on. I was going to do the dungeons in order, but now Talia is forcing me to show you how we could do the 6th dungeon in the game. The 3rd to last dungeon in the game right now. Actually, I guess I don't have Ether. Let's go grab Ether. We gotta grab Ether anyway, sure. This is on you, Talia. This is all on you. You know what you did. Let's get a heal over here. But you know, by the way, there's actually 4 ways to enter Misery Mire. Oh no, really, there are. And I was going to save this till later, but by God, Talia just would not wait. She demands that I do this right now. You do not. No, Talia. There's only 3 respawn points, and we already have all 3 of them. Your house, the sanctuary, and the mountain thing that we just passed. Bird points. No, there's no new bird points unlocked at any point, actually. So there are 3 pedestal-y things like this. The only hint you have is if you talk to them, they do that. So, open the Dora. This is how you get some spells. Flashing lights warning. There's Ether. Now, just to prove Talia wrong. So, the way in which you are intended, most likely, to enter Misery Mire... Come on. Is via the hookshot, which you get in Dungeon 2. Also, this is Misery Mire. I love this place. In fact, there is no entrance or exit to this place. The only way in is the way in I just went, which I'm going to show off later, but we're doing stuff out of order now, entirely because of Talia. I will continue to blame her for this, because this is all her fault. In fact, I'm going to save state, because I actually want to undo this later. We're just going to fast forward through this. So this is the barrier to entry right here. No, not the slime on the walls. That's different. So you're supposed to hookshot across there, right? Correct, Ritual. I told you, Titan Mitts and Hammer. Those are the unlock points. So you're supposed to hookshot over there. You can also use a bomb. Now, I don't know how to use a bomb. I'm not practiced in bomb jumping. But you can use a bomb to blow yourself across. You can also hover across. That's 3 ways, but I prefer this way. Falling into the pit accidentally. That's definitely the best way. Hang on, sorry. I prefer this way. Anyways. So as I was saying. What the hell was I talking about? I was actually talking about something. Like, you really did completely derail it. What was I talking about, Talia? Well, Dungeon 2 does get you the hookshot, which is useful for a bunch of stuff. But yeah, the hammer and the mitt really are the 2 big progression points. Let's do this. I've completely lost my train of thought, so it's whatever. Work, as they say. So you've just beaten the Palace of Darkness. We'll reset to there, because that is what I was talking about. You've just beaten the Palace of Darkness. You hit the wrong button. Very important. Yeah, I could get the Tempered Sword. In fact, no, I couldn't get the Butter Sword now. But I could get the Tempered Sword right now. Anyways. If I did Misery Mire, I could get the Butter Sword. No, I didn't forget, Tali. I'm trying to do things in slightly more accurate order. Like I said, I was just showing off. You've gained access to a huge chunk of the map, but if you don't know what you're doing, this is the important part. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't realize how much of the map you've just gained access to. What I was showing off is how much of an All Roads Lead to Rome's you could do last night. And there's quite a few different extra areas you can reach. If you're a little bit creative and clever, and if you've been paying attention to the light world. Because the overworld is both worlds. Even though they're layered on top of each other like this, the way you interact with both and how they shift across each other determines where you can access what and where and how. So, learning that is one of those early things that you do have to learn, because, as I mentioned, this is the part I was stuck at the first time I played this game, because, like I said, I hyper-fixated on trying to get past that stupid rock, and that was the end of my playthrough for that particular run. I ended up starting the save over. Anyways, but you're supposed to do Swamp Palace next. So, okay. Getting to Swamp Palace is a joke, right? I mean, it's literally down, left, down. So now we're here. So the map says it's just in that little building-looking structure. It's probably this building structure right here. Okay, and we can just walk right in. Cool, let's just walk right into the dungeon, see what happens. It's even got the music playing. Okay, so can't quite go up there. That's strange. Yeah, no worries, no worries. Doesn't seem to be anything up here. There's a Sahasrara thing. Let's go talk to that. It is I, Sahasrara. Objects exist simultaneously in both worlds with similar shapes. The form of anything changes, it will affect the shape of its twin in the other world. A fact that is not true for any part of the game except for this. Although, it's worth noting, originally this was supposed to be a lot more. Like, they were going to do this whole change thing in one world, change thing in the other world thing a lot. And they had issues with that. So they didn't. But that's our only hint. Change something in the light world. Okay. Well, let's go in here, see what's in here. Some bombs! Man, I love bombs. You know what we probably should actually do? Let's not die, first of all. That's an important step. Yeah, the two worlds concept is something Nintendo's poked out a couple of times. Left or right? Left. Now, it's actually entirely feasible during your various explorations throughout Light World, because remember, you have access to a huge chunk of the Light World that you could do this. I didn't actually mean to do that. Whatever. You can do that completely on accident and gain access to a heart piece, actually. But of course, you had no access to the Dark World at the time. I think this is Chaotic Danny. Played the boss of this dungeon. Good morning, Braven. How many of you even knew the map was here? I'm gonna be honest with you, the only reason I knew that was there was because of the fact that, you know, I do randomizers this game, and I know where the chests are. Because to be totally honest, I missed that for years. How much the map helps in this particular dungeon, well, it's debatable. You'll notice that at each point, this is a surprisingly linear dungeon until it loops. Because you push your way through, and then you run into a dead end, like this. So it's like, oh, okay. Huh. Well, alright, we don't have a key, we don't have anything, so we'll go up here. And at each point in this dungeon, there's some kind of little... Yeah, it's not quite Metroid, but it's definitely leaning in that direction. It's like there's a dead end with a branch. You go through the branch, that gives you access to further areas of the dead end. Okay, cool. And there's a whole lot of that in this dungeon. You've also already seen the theme of this dungeon, whereas in the Tower of Hera it was falling, and the Palace of Darkness it was screwing you over the face. In this place, it is water. I mean, Braegwyn makes a beautiful tie bot, if I do say so myself. I gotta say, it's really weird coming in here without already having the hookshot. So, there's the big chest right there, front and center. Middle of the dungeon. And it is the middle. We come in from the right, we go to the left, there's an up, there's a down, right in the center. And it actually does flat out tell you you need the big key to unlock it. I didn't really show that off earlier, my bad. So, okay. Let's do one of those loops I just mentioned. Well, that seemed pointless. And it got us the compass, so it was, in fact, pointless. Alright. No biggie, no biggie. What's over here, I wonder? A little cautious here. Okay, him. Oh yeah, I got a lot of people to voice first things. So if you don't get that key, you have to reset the dungeon. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. That's those blocks. I spent so long trying to figure out what pattern to shove those blocks. You cannot shove those blocks. That's not what they're there for. Oh, of course, Darter. It's okay, Tali. I understand. That you hate me! Or, I mean... So we did just get a key. Now, one of the things I like about this game, in terms of how it approaches itself, is... Oh yeah, by the way, there's the bullcrap thing Tali just mentioned. You want to hit that switch right then and there, because if you don't, enjoy the backtracking. It's probably the one true flaw of this dungeon, like, objectively speaking. Anyways. So, introduction of theme. Water. We fill up the water, we are able to push through. Cool. Nothing really fancy, but it's a neat little thing, and it is something that's informed most of the puzzles so far. But... now we've got to contend with something else. So in this case, first and foremost, we'll do that. Left or right? Notice that the level of hazards in a lot of these rooms has definitely increased, even from pod. Okay, so I'm going to stop dying here and just go left. Rupees, which we literally can't even use. I apologize for the noise. So now we go right. So at this exact point, we would have to go backtrack if we hadn't already prepped the switches. Like I said, that's a bit of a... Here's the big key. Now, interestingly enough, this is the other major flaw of the dungeon, and both of them are in the same room. It actually makes me wonder if someone just didn't really notice this room when they were doing the QA pass. Because now we have to backtrack regardless. Now, it's not as bad of a backtrack because all the puzzles are already solved, but still, we still have to backtrack. I would actually put this in Zelda 1 as the worst low-health beetle leaps in Zelda. This is pretty bad. This gets us the hookshot. So the hookshot is one of those cool things that doesn't do as much as it probably could. But it is still kind of a cool thing, and it's a great weapon. As you can see. Most of the enemies in this dungeon are uniquely weak to this thing, too. And you're encouraged to use it to traverse pathways, which is what tutorializes you to be able to go up here and get things. So we get an immediate tutorialization of how the hookshot works. You'll also notice they do not let us progress until we get that key. So we don't leave this room until we've gotten over and gotten that. So then we have this section. Oh yeah, speaking of which, these lightning enemies we've been fighting a few times now. Yeah, no, they are also weak to the hookshot. Go figure. Getting the hookshot is a godsend in a randomizer because I have legendarily bad luck when it comes to Zelda LTTP randomizers, and that I almost never get the frickin' sword. So, I have learned to make do with everything that isn't the sword over the years. I can also pull you to things like that, too. I don't remember it, unfortunately. I don't remember what my RNG look is. By the way, continuation of the water puzzle. This time we have to remove the water to progress. Now, I'm actually curious what these chests are, because I get these chests for randomizers, of course, but... It's just rupees. Okay, cool. Useful. So this is one of the last times I was ever really stuck in this game. We go in here, we go up here, and there's like, okay, there's nothing here. Might be some hearts. Oh, no. Hearts, no hearts. Okay, no hearts. We can go across here and get hit by something that probably shouldn't hit us. And this is it. This is how we progress. So how do we progress? Like, it clearly says we should be able to go up here, and I saw the up thing, right? So how do we do it? Also, there's a chest here. Yeah, it's the waterfall. And I feel very stupid because I didn't figure this out for a very long time. Even though there are hints there to indicate that it's there, they're just not super well presented. But there are hints, like the fact that you can go over here and see this other room and be like, oh, there's another way to get up there. So, fun thing about this dungeon, you don't actually need the big key to fight the boss in this dungeon. Speaking of the water theme again there. We're pretty much guaranteed to get it attacked here. So we're going to do this. There we go. So now you have to fight against the current in order to progress. We probably could use a refill, so let's go ahead and pop up here. Before we fight the boss. I forget how many bosses you don't actually need big keys for, but I know there's at least this one, as you can see, right up there. I know what you're thinking, but you need the big key to get the hookshot. I need the hookshot right here. Yeah, but that doesn't matter in a rando. Speaking of which, switch back to the hookshot. Boss time. Now, fun thing. This is actually one of the first bosses in this game, and indeed in the entire franchise, that you're supposed to use an item in order to beat the boss. No, really, think about that for a second. You don't need the hammer to beat Helmasaur. You don't need, I don't remember what you get. You don't need the Moon Pearl, obviously, to beat Boldorm. You don't need the bow in order to beat the Armos Knights. You get it, right? But this guy, you actually need the hookshot in order to defeat him. I only point this out because that would become canonized later in Link's Awakening as the actual method of how most Zelda games are structured. There's actually quite a few bosses in this game that don't require the item from their dungeon in order to be defeated. You did need the bow in Zelda 1 to beat Goma. I think that might have been it in Zelda 1. I was gonna say bombs, but no, bombs just drop. There's no bomb bag in Zelda 1. That would be introduced in Arena. The Triforce will grant the wishes of whoever touches it, as long as that person lives. That is why it was hidden in the Golden Land. Only a select few knew of its location. But at some point, that knowledge was lost. The person who rediscovered the Golden Land was Ganondorf, the evil thief. Luckily, he couldn't figure out how to return to the Light World. Well, remember that you have magical powers which only the hero can make the most of. There are some other magical warping points, like the one you saw on Death Mountain. By using them, you can go between the two worlds and find the evils hidden in the Dark World. You are the only one who can destroy Ganondorf, the thief. No, Ganon, the king, the evil king of darkness. Do you understand? I mean, honestly, Talia? Yeah, first name drop of Ganon in this entire game. And I know what you're thinking. We've known Ganon for years, but actually, there are quite a few people who hadn't played Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 who then played this game. You know, in other words, this was a lot of people's first Zelda, in a similar way that Ocarina was a lot of people's first Zelda. The SNES just had a much bigger footprint than the NES. And remember, the SNES had been out for about a year, almost to the month, when this game came out. Where are my review notes? There they are. Jeez, they're over here for some reason. So before I say anything else, remember you can put donations towards up to 3 things, not just one. Well, I hope you enjoy this song. Thank you, Alistair, very, 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 very much for your support. Always. Always and ever appreciate. Thank you very, very, very much, Alistair, for your support, and for putting that towards the Pixel Remasters and 2 other things if you'd like to. Please. So, having accomplished this incredible feat of taking out the second dungeon, let's go grab a heart piece that we accidentally skipped. Just really quick here. There we go. Not that that would have helped, but, you know, nice to have. So how many of you know what the Hype Cave is? Hype Cave, I don't even know what's in here in vanilla. I legitimately don't. This will be kind of an experience. But this is the source of a whole bunch of chests. Take some rupees, but don't tell when I gave them to you. Keep it between us, okay? So this is supposed to be a reference to It's a Secret to Everybody. So it's seriously it's just rupees. It's just rupees. Okay, cool. Cool. That's 300 and like... Actually, I think it's about 400 rupees off into the ether. The reason that's so significant is, and it has its own name, is because that is 5 separate item pickup slots, which is rather significant when you're doing a randomizer. It's very quick and easy to reach, and so a lot of people beeline for it. Pretty much the moment you have bombs, moon pearl, and hammer. It's Hype Cave. I'm just going to show this off very, very, very briefly here. Whoop. So obviously, we could actually go to the Ice Temple right now, although we couldn't do it. We would be physically incapable of progressing through it. But we can do this. So we'll throw in some rupees. It actually changes the RNG seed, by the way. Well, thank you, the Pantheon. It does look like you're subbed to me at the moment, so I do appreciate it. I don't know. You're trying not to hurry. Everyone's like, God, hurry up, Lord. I'm like, but I'm trying not to hurry. But it is good to know that people still like the Star Trek stuff. I'm trying to think. It's been 4 years now, I think, since I finished the Star Trek stuff. Something like that. Might have been longer. So this is arduous and slow and terrible. One of the things I do like the most about the randomizer is a bunch of little quality of life features. For example, being able to speed this the hell up. Because you can do it so you can carry more bombs and more arrows. Now, you barely need these. But it is nice, and it is pretty much the money sink of the game. But as you can see, it takes absolutely forever to do this. Like, it's just... Come on. Actually, it didn't do anything, Act. I was really surprised. Pretty much, Dakota. This is where the money sink came from. Yeah, no, I'm shocked. I guess I could stop doing the Hitler Nazi fascist thing. No, I know, Darker. I was just trying to remember how long it's been since I've actually recorded any Star Trek stuff, because it's been a really long time from my perspective. We're actually playing Star Trek Resurgence probably in a couple of months at this point. Not sure of the exact timeline. There's some real-life stuff getting in the way, as it is so wont to do. This is just coverage, by the way, if you're wondering what I'm doing. Plus, it's a good usage of my rupees. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Oh my god. It's my fault for mashing so fast. That would be really funny, Act. And that's only half our money, too. We can upgrade that even more, but I'm not going to make you sit here and just watch me do this for a bit. I'm just pointing it out. That's your money sink. Well, right now I am in exactly the same spot as I always have been, Walker. Let's go get the third bottle here. To my knowledge, nothing indicates this is here. You just have to stumble into it. In fact, the third bottle and the fourth bottle... So, this game introduced the bottle concept. I suppose I should talk about that. Bottles are extremely useful. They are, in many ways, a form of progression. Right up there with your armor and your weapon. Because bottles can carry stuff. Now, there's only 3 things they can carry in this. They can carry a magic potion, of which there are 3 types. They can carry a bee, which is just automatically attacks your enemies, or they can carry a fairy, which is a 1-up. But, as you're probably already saying, that's extremely useful. It gives you the ability to heal when dying, the ability to restore mana, or the ability to heal and restore mana. And yes, there's actually a second type of bee, the golden bee, which I'll get to later. So bottles are extraordinarily useful. You'll also notice getting the first 2 bottles comes very, very quickly, because the game wants you to have those initial bottles. Good. Good thing. But the third and fourth are much, much rarer. And I'm kind of okay with that. Most of the Zelda games would follow a similar format. We'll see this as well when we get to Ocarina. Yeah, that bird, he wanted that. Just doing a little bit of wrap-up over here. Don't mind me. I haven't seen it yet, Act. Well, I was late to start because I was, asleep. I mean, that would be kind of funny, tell you. But instead, we got the fishing rod. Sadness. Fun fact, the only reason fishing is in Ocarina, and I'll talk about this when we get there, too, is because the guy who programmed it, who was working on Ocarina, loves fishing in real life. So if you ever wondered why fishing is in the Zelda series, it's thanks to that guy. I think I already talked about this, because that's how it got into Link's Awakening as well. So that's a pretty easy one to pick up. You could see it in the light world, it's just there, but it's on a platform that has no way to get up onto it. Thus, once you figure out how to... Like, you could see that very, very early in the game, and you're like, where the hell is that? How do I get to that? By the time you gain access to the 2 worlds thing, it becomes a lot more obvious how you're supposed to access it. There's a lot of stuff like that, where you're supposed to see it the first time around in the world of light, and then you're like, wait, what? And then you kind of piece it together in the world of darkness. Speaking of which, now that we have the hookshot, we've unlocked the intended method to go up. I've already shown you 2 separate ways we could go north. But the way you're supposed to do things, there's an arrow right here, and you do this. And then we have access to the northern part of the Dark World. Which leads us, of course, to this area. Now, technically we're not supposed to have this yet, but whatever, we're right here. We're just gonna skip through this really quick. Since we're here, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go to the woods next. I'll talk about that in just a second. We're just gonna get a couple of side things really quick. Patience. You're so impatient, sir. God. Yeah, as I said, rupees in most Zelda games, they become invalid very, very quickly. Invalid's not the right word, but like bonus points, right? Honestly, breath is one of the only exceptions, and of course, breath goes too far the other way, where you never have enough rupees in the entire playthrough. Thanks for that, breath. Appreciate you. I do like the idea of a blunderbuss. Alright. There is a hint for this, by the way, before you wonder how you're supposed to know to ram this one specific grave. Magic Cape. I couldn't figure out the point of the Magic Cape until I started doing randos. The Magic Cape is actually extraordinarily useful for a few specific circumstances. It's essentially an invuln button. And you can still see where you are because of the shadow, so you can just walk through enemies like this, see? If you're familiar with the weapon that the third Lich King wielded, that's the kind of weapon I could see Ganondorf using. Legitimately. I think that'd be very cool. I think I screwed it up. That's fine, that's fine. We should be fine. Oh yeah, by the way, like the boomerang, the hookshot is a stunner. So it's kind of an upgrade to the boomerang, too. So here's a weird one. Before we go to the forest, I just want to show something off real quick. Two things, actually. First of all, two of those frickin' Triceratops. But you'd think this is the way to get up to Death Mountain in the Dark World, right? And you would be wrong. Not really. Leech of Vault, no. You can get that up there. That's about it. So, well, what's the point of this cave? Well, this is it's part of the hint for the cape. I already kind of mentioned. That's probably why he uses the trident, too. Well, it depends on which Lich King, Medallion. They're all three pretty distinct individuals. One thing I do miss about the rando, well, I miss a lot of things about the rando. Another thing I miss about the rando is not being able to use L and R to switch between items. Wrong. And that's it. That's all this little excursion is. Do you have the cape? There's actually other ways through that, but do you have the cape? Yes, no. Okay, then. Here's a piece of heart. So how do we get up to Death Mountain? Since we can't reach Death Mountain, and the thing on the map says the forest is the third thing, obviously it wants us to go to the forest. But, you know, I wonder how those lumberjacks are doing. So this is kind of a fun one. I only know this because of the randomizer. I know I say that a lot. This is one of the only triggers, one of the only chests that beating Aghanim unlocks, right here. I'm not sure I understand the question, Knight. Let's grab a third fairy while we're here. And a heal. Thank you. Hi, Melkor. A Bumpkin and B Bumpkin the Lumberjacks. It's a proud family name right there. So, I'm going to do this kind of in the wrong order on purpose, because this is absolutely not how you're supposed to enter the Skull Woods. And that's the Skull Woods in a nutshell. So, hold on. I know a lot of you meme and joke, and none of you take this game seriously, and that's fine. That's whatever. But one of the things I like about this game, other than the fact that it's extraordinarily dark, is the fact that it gets a lot darker the moment you walk in here. The moment you walk into the Skull Woods is the exact second at which the game stops screwing around. I don't mean gameplay-wise. That was back in Palace Darkness. This place is dark, bleary, and just kind of unpleasant to be around. And the music changes completely. The music... Like, remember how we talked about how the Dark World song is its own particular style of adventurous, heroic... Defiant, one of the commenters mentioned. This is none of that. This is officially the March of Ganon's army. This is the kind of music you probably expected the Dark World theme to have. Notice there's just rib cages. Just periodically, instead of like laying down tree trunks. And this is especially important because this is a direct contrast. Just to show this off very briefly. Okay, I apparently need to be 5 feet to my left. This is the tone and vibe of the forest in the light world. It's almost like... I'm trying to think of the right word here. Fairy tale-esque, I think is the word I want to use there. Yeah, it's not quite peaceful, but at the same time, you can just feel the vibe of the place. There's nothing really threatening or dangerous here, which is funny, because there actually is, especially at this point in the game, as I've pointed out and already given a positive for. The further you get into the game, the more enemies and the harder enemies spawn in various points in the light world. Whoop, 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 whoop. I don't even have my controller! Ah. Then you go here. I also like the fact that you can always hear the wind howling in the distance. So there's quite a bit to explore on this stupid place. But almost all of it is a dead end. This also... So, Skullwoods is a dungeon and a zone, both at the same time. Also, if you're paying attention, the entrance I used coming in from the right, which is a very natural way to go, especially if you're using the hookshot for the first time, is not how you're supposed to actually enter the dungeon. We can't really access the dungeon proper here. But the thing about Skullwoods, and I keep circling this point because I'm struggling to put this into words, Skullwoods is extraordinarily optional. There's a lot of ways to essentially bypass the entire... God damn it, get out of the way. To bypass the overwhelming majority of the dungeon. Skullwoods, especially in a rando, where you really figure this out, is infamously a place you only need like one key to get through the entire dungeon, if you know what you're doing. And you could skip most of the dungeon. It doesn't even have that many chests in it. Okay, so now that I have a moment to talk in peace, this is where you're actually supposed to enter the dungeon. Or here. Or here. Or here. That is 4 entrances to the dungeon. Sorry, let me make this very clear. 4 entrances to the dungeon in one screen. And all of these lead to slightly different approaches to the early part of the dungeon. The dungeon's also split into 3 parts. There's the eastern half, the western half, and then the boss half. Which, I understand that's 3 halves. Just bear with me. Bear with me! I think you're right. I think this is an experiment. This is the most open world of the dungeons, and as a massive consequence of this, I know a lot of people who hate this dungeon because it's very freeform. You can do this in pretty much whatever order you want to, and as a consequence, there's nowhere near as much guidance as there is in a lot of the other dungeons. So, let's do this first. Let's do this. Let's pop in here. Let's say we fell by accident. And all of a sudden we're in a dungeon. The dungeon music starts playing. It says B1, and if we pull up the map, it says level 3. Oh, crap. The theme of this dungeon is probably screw you. And I don't really mean that facetiously. Traps might actually be a better word for that. Let's use that. That's a nicer word. The theme of this dungeon is traps. This dungeon has the return of the ever-lovely Wall Masters. This dungeon also has things like this. And there's a lot of ways which you can go, which are one way. And leads you into a giant room with bouncy pads, spiked balls, and Gibdos. The first time we've encountered Gibdos in this particular playthrough. And they are exactly as mean as they always are. And yeah, it's kind of a trapped haunted house thing. So you can get that one key there, and then you can quit out, not use this key on this door, and then you have the only key you need for the dungeon. That's the trick I mentioned. You can do that in normal playthrough too, by the way. There's nothing preventing that. When you check the map, it's kind of a weird dungeon layout, isn't it? And you can see how the parts of it, the 3 parts of it, are all disconnected from each other. And the boss is just by himself down there. That's strange. Anyways. If you're paying attention, we've also just dead-ended. We no longer have the ability to progress. There's a locked door to the left. There's a pit over which we certainly cannot hover across in order to gain access to the items there. So we're not going to do that, obviously. So we have to go out the front door. And this now leads us to the front door. Now, I bring this up because obviously this is playing with probabilities, but I know a lot of players who didn't actually come in the front door the first time they did the Skull Woods. Rather, they go out the front door. And that is kind of the nature of how this dungeon is structured. The front door is more like the center point rather than the actual intended entrance, because every other entrance is actually more useful. Speaking of, playing with expectations. So if you're paying attention and if you're doing these dungeons in order, we just had the thing where we were reminded of the connection between the 2 worlds. That's how we gained access to Dungeon 2, the Swamp Palace. So we get here, and there's these 3 things. On the off chance you've already done this on the Light World, you remember there's a heart piece in the middle. Well, behold. And that leads us up here. And now we have access to another chunk of the dungeon. There's other ways to get up here, of course, and trust me, that's true for most of this place. Most of Skull Woods has at least one other route to reach everything. That's by design, like I said. You'll also notice most of the enemy types here are much more in that horror-themed thing. Rather than being, you know, rapid fire or shooting tons of stuff at you, there's just spikes and pits and these mummies which just kind of slowly walk towards you, inexorably. Of course, we don't have the big key yet. A lot of the enemy design here is very, very much for the visual storytelling side of things. Like, for example, these enemies. We've already seen these in Dungeon 2, and they just kind of slowly hover around. They hurt like hell, though, especially when they start doing that, the lightning attack. And then there's these guys. They don't really do much damage, but they like to chase you. And as I kind of already showed off earlier, there's also the spark things, which just trace on the wall, slowly following around to get at you. Oh, and I was asked to explain this. So you might notice my arm position change a little bit. That's because I reached out to the keyboard to do this easier. So the hover trick is actually really easy to accomplish if you are an insane mutant of a human being. There are real-life humans who can do this live. I am not one of them. What's happening there is when you initiate the dash, for 1 frame, you retain your position. In other words, you can't fall. And so, in other words, if you are managing to hit this approximately 30 times a second, you always stay in that 1 frame of hovering, and thus you're able to do things like hover. That's how the hover trick works. If you've ever seen someone do that live, it's kind of crazy. And I weep for their hands. So what does the shield upgrade do? It actually only does 1 thing. It increases the things we can block to include those little red fireballs, which a lot of the enemies use. And yeah, that's a turbo controller thing. Or, again, if you're a mutant who can actually do that. And I have seen that done, live even. Alright, so because we used up the key, which prevents us from going west, I actually have to think about where we're going next. Give me a minute. Oh yeah, and sorry, someone pointed this out earlier. Did you notice that half of the overworld dungeon does not have access to the underworld dungeon? But this, we are going to give this negative. As much as I hate giving negatives to beloved games, that's not true. I love it. It's the only thing that keeps me alive at night. Wall Masters. They are exactly as awful as they always are in this dungeon. Screw them. The only nice thing I can say about them here is at least they're, like, right at the beginning of the dungeon. Instead of much, much later. But considering that one of the puzzles is to do this, moving slowly and being vulnerable while doing so, and as you can already tell, they respawn infinitely, so there is no killing them. So if you didn't do the trick, we have to go back and get this. Once again, notice the enemy composition. The encounter design in this dungeon is actually really, really good. I love it. Now, we could go left, and I guess we should go left. Yeah, let's do that really quick. There's actually an extra key in this dungeon. That door up leads to nothing, for example. And depending on the order in which you do the dungeon can actually change how the dungeon progresses. For example, I could just not go back and just progress forward and go beat the boss right now. But again, I'm trying to go ahead and showcase the dungeon as much as possible in more of an intended order. This is normal. I'm not even fazed about this. Until we get that first armor upgrade, everything's just going to be beating our faces in, so that's pretty normal. Right. Now, I know this is going to be contentious, but I think Skullwoods deserves a few positives. It's certainly a different thing for their approach, and it does take itself in a very different format, but it's very thematically on point. It has a lot of malleability in how you can do the dungeon, which I tend to value. And there's no real way to lock yourself out of progression. As long as you keep in mind the 3 sections of the dungeon, you're going to be fine. That's the important part. Having said that, there is one screw you. One last screw you, which we have to cover. And that is Triaxia, as always. Give me a second. Finished my speech a little bit early. So if you headed out here earlier, you could have explored, and there's like a thing up here, and it's weird and kind of gross. But this, I'm just going to give this away. This is a dead end. This leads to nothing. There's a pit, but that doesn't help us any. Okay, so what's over this way then? Well, remember how I mentioned how the Skullwoods is when they officially just kind of get, you know, awful? Evil forests being a very, very common thing in Japanese folklore. Well, then there's that thing. And I can't be the only one who sees the bug that's being eaten alive as, like, desperately trying to pull its way out of the mouth as it's being eaten alive. And yeah, I know it's a statue. That doesn't really make it any better, does it? Well, good news. It's not actually a statue. And this is where we actually enter the boss portion of the dungeon. Now, because I did this in a specific order, I can actually skip a segment. I'm not going to, but I could. So this is again playing with that traps theme. You can't see where you're going. There's actually a path. And the game is kind of coy about exactly how it works. Come on, there we go. Oh, this thing gave me completely the creeps. You kidding me? This thing wigs me out now. And there's our bonus key, which we don't need. Come on. I'm kind of incapable of commenting on the music usage and repetition thereof. As I've actually pointed out before, it was Link's Awakening which first came up with the idea of a different song per each dungeon. So there's only 2 dungeon songs in this game. Yeah, listen to one of them. Thoughts? Oh yeah, by the way, fun fact about the Gibdos. They are not random. Just a tiny little additional bit of horror to this section. Most of the troop units that move like that throughout the game just have random movement. The Gibdos follow you. They home right in on you. If you look at the map, you'll see the thing to the north. Just move it right quickly. If you get here without getting the extra key... Oh yeah, by the way, this is the worst example. There we go. Of the Wall Masters here. Oh no, it's not as bad as Zelda 1, but still bad. So that's a very common thing to happen. I'm actually glad that happened. Because now I can explain why Wall Masters suck. Whoop, it's... God damn it. Also notice that this is unique, but kind of irritating. In short, this is a narrow corridor. But we have to do it in a specific order because of the nature of the flip-flopping floor. I was hoping for something else. Oh, God, that's frustrating. There we go. Got it. By the way, if you kill Gibdos with magic, they almost always drop magic. They also have a higher chance to drop magic in general. Hard. Completely invalidating my statement. These also drop magic because you need magic to do this room. This room also necessitates the fire rod, consequently. Because you cannot get that last one without the rods. You cannot use the lantern on that. So, boss time. Here's a fun factoid. For the longest time, I thought that was a face with wings. So, if you hit the boss and he hits the spikes, he takes less damage because the spikes override the damage you're doing to the boss. So it's easier and quicker to kill the boss on the southern end of the room rather than the northern. Also, this is arguably the hardest boss in the game, but not because of the boss himself, just because of the room. If it's not obvious, that is a conveyor belt, and yes, those spikes do randomly pop out. There's actually a pattern to it, but whatever. Now, to contrast this, the boss actually has very little health. I'm shocked I haven't Gary. I was just saying, one of the least bits of health of any boss in the game, unless you count blind and his hit him 9 times thing. Doing a boss randomizer is hilarious because you can fight other bosses in this room, and all of a sudden, easy bosses become nightmarish when you put them in this room. Possibly, but I've seen the artwork. It is just a moth. It's even named Mothula. Yeah. My personal favorite is getting the Helmasaur King in there, which I have gotten. I'm also going to give a story positive to Skullwoods, and I don't really feel like I need to explain myself. Do you know the prophecy of the Great Cataclysm? This is the way I heard it. If a person who has an evil heart gets the Triforce, a hero is destined to appear, and he alone must face the person who began the Great Cataclysm. If the evil one destroys the hero, nothing can save the world from his wicked reign. Only a person of the Knights of Hyrule, who protected the royalty of Hylia, can become the hero. You're of their bloodline, aren't you? Well, then you must rescue Zelda, without fail. Remember, if you're not of the bloodline, you're not the chosen one, and screw you. Link from Wind Waker. So now we have the Fire Rod and the Ice Rod. We have most of the things we need to do the whole game. Notice it drops us out here, though. I think that's more of a technical limitation than anything else, because it just drops you out at the entrance to the dungeon, of which there's like 5 of this freaking place. So we're going to backtrack here. Just a bit. Good news is we don't have to redo much of this dungeon, and they did want us up here on purpose, obviously. Because the next dungeon we're supposed to do is the one we've actually already done, Thieves Town. And if you're paying attention, you're thinking, well, hang on, what do we have that we can access Thieves Town? Well, nothing. Except the hammer. Now, obviously, we don't need the hammer, but I'm just pointing out. So we get the hammer, we go down here. Thieves Town. Boom. And we've actually already shown this off, so I don't really feel the need to show much off here. But I do want to kill this guy. Did I? So then we do Thieves Town. Sorry. While doing Thieves Town, you may or may not have noticed that there's this frog guy down here. Once we finish Thieves Town, we get the Titan Mitts, which allows us to pick up dark stuff, and the skulls are colored dark, just like the stones are. So, your body did not change. You're not just an ordinary guy, are you? I used to live in Kakariko Town. I wonder what my partner's doing there without me. I request you, please take me to my partner, please. Well, okay, I guess. Look into this mirror with me. Oh, happy days are here again. You found my partner. We're very happy now. Drop by here again. At that time, we'll temper your sword perfectly. Well, okay. But hang on. Have you been following the chain of events so far? Yes, that's right. You can actually play the game without a sword for a while. Yeah! Some insane players, who I'm not going to name, like to play whole sections of the game like this. But, you know, since we're here and we've got this hammer and we've been guided in this direction by having just finished Thieves Town, what's with this thing right here? You'll notice there is a bit of a flow to the Dark World, is kind of what I'm overall pointing out. And yeah, you can get the level 3 sword quite early. I couldn't figure out what to do with this for quite a while. Hey, blast you for waking me from my deep, dark sleep. I mean, thanks a lot, sir. And I'll get my revenge on you. Get ready for it, if that's okay with you, sir. I laugh at your misfortune. Now your magic power will drop by 1/2. Congratulations. Now do your best, even though I'm sure it won't be enough. Have a nice day. See you. Yeah, I stumbled onto this pretty early, but I couldn't figure out what to do with it for a minute. I did actually end up stumbling into it literally by just using everything I had on the thing until one of the things worked. So our sword should be ready now. We could go without the sword for a while, but there's no real reason to, so give me my sword. Oh, it's not actually ready yet. Right. Sorry. That's okay. I can work with that. I have the power to say hello to Ross. Hello, Ross. Now this looks suspicious. Also, even the Kukos are skeletons here. Like, I know this game looks cartoony, but this is just straight up Dragon Quest effect, isn't it? This is, I love how dark this game is, and it's always weirded me out how I'm apparently the only person on the planet who thinks that. Every time I bring up how dark this game is, people are like, yeah, sure, wink. And I'm like, dude, are you paying attention? The answer is no. Now we're going to do a bit of a side trip, mostly because I want to show something off. Which I only found out thanks to randomizers. So there's level 3 sword. It's got a nice meaty sound to it. All you have to do is go to the Dark World and come back, Blade Jabal. That's all that's required. Because it's not a zone line. If you go in here and come out, it doesn't trigger. So now we have this chest that's with us. But, you know, honestly, I don't think we could ever do anything with this chest. Let's just give up. Let's just quit the game. Did you know it goes with you? Because I didn't. That's what I think, Memory. I think all the trees in the Dark World were once people. Considering we know that there was an entire war that was fought in the Golden Land. Yeah. Yeah, this is a much quicker and easier way to go do this. Notice once again the enemy encounter design and rate, as in more enemies, is going up. And we're seeing almost nothing but red enemies in the light world now. Heard you used to be a thief, right? Well, I'll put a chest for you. You keep it a secret from everyone else? I promise not to tell. And there's our 4th and final bottle. And that's the reward for doing that. Now, you know, that's true, Alchemist. So, actually, yeah, Talia. Ignoring the fact that that fits the overall cursed nature of the Dark World, we know that the Golden Land didn't have anything other than the Triforce in it. Several sources corroborate that. So, no trees, no grass, no plants. Just, you know, the Triforce in a golden land with a golden sky. So, yeah, I actually presume that all of this crap is leftover rotten muck that used to be people from the horrific wars, plural, that were fought in order to proclaim it. I mean, this will actually come up in the next game we cover, too, because there was an imprisoning war in that game, too. But we'll get there. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So, I do want to show off something. I'm not just getting another bottle. Swamp of Evil. No entrance, no escape. We've already been to the desert, right? We already know how to get to the desert. It's so nice having the Tempered Sword. But it's not joking. There is no way in. Even though we could check the map and very clearly this thing. But one thing I like, and the map isn't perfect, that's why I only got a single positive. But I do like that the map makes it very clear in some cases, there is no entrance to this place. I know I've actually already shown you how to get in. But it's supposed to tickle your brain in the background there. Like, how the hell am I supposed to get in there? How do I access this place? Now, this is kind of cool, because you're probably thinking, how do I access this place? You come here in the Dark World, you see these. You know how to interact with these. You had to interact with these just to reach this spot. So you do that, and nothing happens. So you think, okay, well, let's pop this here. Notice there's actually 2 visual cues to do that. Well, now we're up top. What's up top give us? The best spell in the game. Especially now that we have half mana. This is Bombos. It just kills everything. It's a screen clear. It's a straight up screen clear. Quake debuffs or mutates most of the enemies on the screen. Ether freezes them. Bombos kills their asses. So if you're paying attention, there's still a fairly smooth flow to the dungeons. But once we've finished Thieves Town, and once we've gotten all the things we got, now what, right? Where do we go now, by the way? Hi, Evo. Well, you look at the map. This down there is our next destination, and we do need to do Skull Woods in order to, or rather, we need the Fire Rod to access the Ice Palace. I've always personally believed that the Misery Mire should be done before Ice Palace, or Ice Tower, excuse me, because thematically it works better, and in terms of difficulty curve, it works better. But since the game is directing us to Ice first, we'll go ahead and do Ice first. By the way, if you're paying attention, we haven't even been up to Death Mountain, Dark World Death Mountain yet, not even once. And there's a reason for that. It's because nothing is really guiding us up there yet. We could have gone up there pretty early on. In fact, as of this moment, there's nothing up there we can't access. But again, nothing's really pushing us up there, and we haven't figured out how to really do anything up there yet. So we're going to do this instead. I don't like to do Ice Palace without half magic. It is possible. If you have 100% full magic, you can beat the boss. If you have full magic when you reach the boss of Ice Palace. Otherwise, you're screwed. So if you miss so much as a single shot, you can't do it. First thing we see right out the gate, enemies that can only be beaten with fire. There's no other way to kill them. They are 100% invincible, and you have to kill the enemy to progress. There's your hard barrier to entry. Bring the fire rod or go home. Magic flames will protect you inside this icy dungeon. Yeah. So, yeah, this place. This is kind of a combination dungeon. I want you to imagine the maze-like nature of Pod combined with the gauntlet-like nature of Hyrule Castle Tower. And you've got the Ice Palace. This place has a lot of enemies into it. One of the first things I did when I started doing randomizers was I memorized this dungeon inside and out. Because it also loops in on itself 3 times. I'm not even talking about the room I'm doing right now. I mean, like, the whole dungeon loops in and out of itself 3 times. The game really wants you to be geared before you walk in here. Yeah, we probably should have actually gotten a magic potion before we came in, but we'll figure this out. And yeah, this is, like, everyone points to the Swamp Palace as the first water temple, but this is kind of the actual first water temple in the Zelda series. Apologies for the noise. There's only so much I can do about it. There we go. Okay. Notice traps, by the way. In a room with lots of enemies, there's a thing that turns you into a friggin' rabbit. Oh, and if you go right, you run into a dead end. I'm just going to give that away really quick. And we have to start getting clever with some of these, too. Nothing too fancy, but you can see how this is just a step up from pretty much everything we've seen up until this point. Now, this flat out tells you can't destroy the Skeleton Knight with sword alone. When he collapses, he is vulnerable to another weapon. And these things drop bombs, so there's your tip on how to beat Stalfos. But it is interesting that Stalfos go from the boring, bog-standard nothing enemies of Zelda 1 to being some of the higher tier enemies of Zelda 3. Now, I'm going to have to be a little cautious, but I should mention, I have this dungeon pretty well memorized, but I still might get stuck this playthrough, and you know why? Because I don't have the Cane of Samaria. See, one of the biggest reasons why I prefer to do Mire... Whoops. I already switched that. One of the biggest reasons I prefer to do Mire before before Ice Palace is Mire gives you the Cane of Samaria, which is demonstrably useful for beating the puzzles of this dungeon. Like, it makes the whole thing better. And I'll explain why when we get there. This is why this dungeon is almost assuredly going to get a negative, by the way, is because of that mandatory backtrack. Unless you do the dungeons out of order. How do you kill skeletons in Gothic, then? Notice a lot of enemies in here drop magic, by the way, which is good. Yeah, that's another thing. The dungeon is really narrow. That's a good way to put that, because it's very accurate. Speaking of chests, I barely tend to interact with. Now, we don't have the big key, if you're paying attention. See? So there's actually no reason to try and get the big chest, because we literally can't. It's right there, though. Correct, Vendali. We could also do this whole thing, but again, we don't have the big key, so there's no reason to even interact with that. So we're stuck going this way, which is, of course, a one-way door. Thankfully, despite the ice dungeon being the ice dungeon, there's actually only, I think, 5 rooms in the whole dungeon, which have ice physics. Thank God for that. Also, fun fact, you can I screwed that up. You can bypass ice physics by dashing. Sorry, there's a weird momentum thing. Like, you kind of saw it right there. It's because the ice physics are functionally the water physics. I kind of talked about that earlier. Oop. So, small key, and now we're going back up. That's strange. So far, the whole dungeon's been pretty linear, though, so that's whatever. So, if we go left here, we have gone the wrong way. We have to redo a huge part of the dungeon. Oh, I should see what he has to say here. Don't use all your magic power if you don't possess the medicine of magic. Yeah, translation. You need all your magic for the boss. Literally, no really. There are ways across this that do not involve the hookshot, but yeah. You really should have the hookshot by the time you're at this point. Also useful. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Have you noticed the level of complexity to a lot of the rooms in this dungeon, though? It's why this dungeon's probably also getting a positive, in addition to the negative it's definitely getting. There's a lot going on here. Oh, extremely, Ross. And that's without even using bugs and yes. Hey, the map! We're actually almost done with the dungeon. We just got the map. And by the way, there's the map. It really is a tower. But the reason we did that whole thing, we're pretty much right up at the top of the tower right now. Because that's where the big key is. Now we start going back down. And no, I didn't have that glitch. Sorry, you asked about that earlier, Kat. So there's our 2 keys, of which we're about to spend 1. Remember how I mentioned there's no reason to go right here? So here we fall. Actually, I didn't mean to do that. Hang on. It's okay. Need to get at least a little bit of screw up in this run, right? I say right before I get hit there. Yeah, I was getting ahead of myself. That's my bad. It's okay. That's a quick and easy run. Oh, of course, now we have some low health beetle leaping going on, but that's cool. Everybody loves that sound, don't they? This is where I wanted to be. The good news... Yeah, that staircase I just went down, by the way, I probably did one of those I made it look easy things. Going down one of those staircases in ice is really hard to do, and the flame wall will absolutely hit you as you're trying to go down that staircase. Anyways, here's the blue mail. Half damage. Bit of a dye job. Yeah, they could have done so many things with this, but whatever. Just move on. We've got the big key now. So we're ready to beat the dungeon, right? Like, we've got the key, we've got, you know, all the stuff we need. Everything's cool forever. And we're just about at the end of the dungeon, actually. Good news is I knew this was here. So let me save your ears. And this is it. All we have to do is go down through here and use the cane that we have on us to go down through here, right? That's all we have to do. Oh, wait. We didn't do Misery Mire first. This sucks. So what the game actually wants you to do is go through this key door. Now, if you're paying attention, we do not have a key. Where do we get a key? There's no key here. There's only so many places we can access. Where's the key? Stop draining my mana, please. I need that mana. Damn it. I'm not actually trying to get hit by the damn anti-fairy. Oh, hey, there's a random key in this random room. Huh. Sure would be nice if there was a doot-doot-doot-doot sound effect in there to tell you that there's a key in there. Huh. Oh, well, I guess. So now we can go through this door. Magic a little bit. But yes, the whole point of going in here was to hit this switch. What's the benefit of hitting that switch? Well, I'll show you. First of all, more backtracking. The one thing you crave in this game. I actually already answered that, Dakota. So, there's fireballs that look like little red orbs that look absolutely nothing like fireballs. And those fireballs, they can be deflected by that shield, that's it. It's the big shield that's really the fun one. Well, but wait, I've got the block down, I've solved the puzzle. Why isn't the puzzle getting solved? You're starting to see the bullcrap of this dungeon. Oh, I got room for more. Screw it, yeah, let's refill in fairies here a little bit. If all that was required, and I mean this sincerely, if all that was required was what I just did in order to progress, that would be fine. And I honestly would probably not give this dungeon a negative. By the way, you can fall into the pots. Just showing this off really quick. Refill room. I believe that's all 4. Yep. But yeah, like, if all it was go to the right, hit the switch, go up, go down, knock over the block, fall in, put block into the thing, win, no issues. Instead, we've got to go the long way around, and you should know the long way around because we've already done it. This is backtracking. Classic, old-fashioned, nothing new about it, same thing we just did, backtracking. Unless you have the item from the dungeon that's supposed to be done after this, in which case you can skip this entire section. I do not know what they were thinking with this. And the fact that you can use the Cane of Samaria to just completely bypass this entire section is... it almost makes me think it's on purpose and that they just screwed up the numbering. I should also mention, nothing in this dungeon is used for the upcoming dungeon. Except maybe the armor, which, I mean, armor's useful everywhere, right? Because I'm not being facetious. There's nothing new here. This is literally just us resolving all these rooms. That's all there is. Oh my god. Oh my god. I mean, you say that, Talia, but I hate to really line this up as much as I possibly can. No. Being a little bit more helpful in a boss fight is nice, but that's just leveling at that point. Whatever Miyamoto might want to claim otherwise, all of these games have stats and numbers and rules. The Cane of Samaria skips an entire half of this dungeon. Okay, you're being sarcastic. It's hard to tell with you. God, I can't believe I've gotten that 3 times in a row, too. And now we're back here. And yes, this is the 3rd time we've gone through this room. And now, we can go down and progress. Because this is the boss room, or rather, immediately below us is the boss room. And you notice we do not have enough mana. Okay, now we do. Barely. Only because we got the half mana. So, sometimes you kind of want to farm this room a little bit to get up the mana you need. Because, again, if you don't have half mana, you need 100% mana to do this upcoming boss. And that's if you don't miss anything. If you have half mana, you need half mana to do the next boss. And that was the Ice Palace. Before we go fight the next boss, pause for a second. Let's say thank you to Doom Rider. Thank you as always. If you want to put that towards 2 more things, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll jot that down. Or Dragon Age 4. Whatever they call it. I mean, Turtle Rock also flat out tells you, you brought magic, right? You brought magic potions, you're gonna need them. I wish the quarter magic was still in the game, honestly. It's one of my favorite upgrades to get when I'm doing a randomizer, because it's so useful. So, negative to gameplay, obvious. I'm debating if it's a second negative to gameplay. Factorio, no, that's a good pick. Factorio. And the FF4 comparison block. You got it. Thank you again, Doom Rider. Because, like, the obvious negative is the forced backtracking. Literally, unless you do the dungeons out of order, you have to redo a whole swath of the dungeon. Pointless backtracking. That's stupid. I think it's fair to give another negative. Let's do it. This is probably the worst level in the entire game. Like, you think I was joking when I said earlier that the first thing I did when I started randomizing this game is memorize this dungeon? This place sucks. Which is such a shame, because I think with a few minor changes, this could actually be one of my favorite dungeons. Legitimately. Because if you think about the flow of this place, it's kind of cool. No pun intended. You walk in, do you have the fire rod? Yes, no. Okay, cool. Lots of enemies drop magic, and almost everything in here is weak to fire, either Bombos or the fire rod. And I mean that. Like, you can just absolutely bulldoze this place if you're using your magic. So they use magic, but they also return magic in turn. Okay, that's a good loop. Almost all of the puzzles are of the design of go through here, and then go through here, and then go through here, and so forth and so on, right? There's a very good loop design to most of the dungeon. There are, however, two really big screw yous, which are so stupid. I already pointed out the one, which is the obvious one. You think you've solved the puzzle. No, you have to go back and redo the entire dungeon again. That's the first screw you. The second screw you is that key. Now, I knew where that key was, but picture getting to the second to last room in the dungeon, one room up from where we are right now, and missing one small key. This is the same bullcrap that the water temple pulls, in the exact same way, too. There's one small key that a lot of people miss because it's really easy to miss when going through the water temple in Ocarina, and that small key is bullcrap, because you need it, and it's really easy to get well past the point where you can get to it and have to essentially redo the entire dungeon to get back to it. So this is nonsense, 2 negatives. Having said that, I am also going to give a positive. So a net negative dungeon, but I do still think there's enough good stuff and good design on display here that if they did a few polishing passes, this would actually be a legitimately good dungeon. Instead, what we have is this. So the first phase of this boss is funny. Extremely easy. Because there's nothing he does. He just drops these ice crystals. Excuse me, she. Then there's this phase. Now this phase looks really easy. This is one of the hardest hitting enemies in the entire game. The damage those eyeballs do is gargantuan. And that's, of course, even if you have the armor, if you have half damage. The pattern is a little bit random, and you're dodging the ice at the same time you're dodging them. In short, this is probably the first boss I'm saying is actually a negative. It's that awful combination of punishing and boring. Any mistake is heavily penalized, and there's just not much to it. That was Cold Stare. It's not that nonsense is over with. They say the Hylia people controlled mysterious powers, as did the 7 wise men. But the blood of the Hylia has become thin over time. We who carry the blood of the 7 wise men do not possess strong power anymore either. Our powers will increase if we mix the courage of the knights with the wisdom of the wise men. Only a short time remains until the gate at the castle linking the world opens completely. If you defeat Ganon, this world will vanish, and the Triforce will wait for a new holder. I believe in you. Good luck. Do you understand? I am familiar with the Raspberry Pi, yes, act. Sorry. Hey, Crazy Clown Man. The greatest of all clown men. So... Misery Mire. Now, I've kind of already shown you how to reach Misery Mire, but pretend I didn't. Pretend I didn't. That sucks, Ect. Next thing you'll tell me is they actually decided to list in the Texas stock market. Yeah, I don't feel like upgrading my stuff. Whee. Oh, 100%, Talia. So this is Misery Mire. No way in, no way out. There's not a lot to do here. compared to some of the other zones. It's mostly just this big, vile muck, but I have to give special credit for the fact that a lot of the foliage and vines have eyeballs in them. Just to add to the ambience. The ambiance. Like that lovely little number right there. That's perfect, you know? That's how it should be. Well, that sounds pretty stupid to me, Gum Gum. Ah, London. Okay. Well, there's worse options. By the way, if you fall down from here, it's kind of irritating to get back. Not terrible, just irritating. I don't even remember what's in this chest. A heart piece. I'll take it. Money I really don't need. Yeah, if you don't have a Raspberry Pi and you want one, maybe get one before they get much worse. So, the clue here is actually pretty obvious. It's that circle right there with the symbol, and as you can see as I'm kind of lining it up on the screen, same icon. So there's your hint. Question is, how do you find these? Now, this is kind of interesting, because to my knowledge there is no guidance for finding Ether specifically, any more than there's any guidance for finding Quake. I point that out because Ether and Quake are the weird ones. Bombos is the one that the game goes out of its way to guide you towards, and I've already pointed that out. So, you're just kind of supposed to roam the world, near as I can tell, and find this one. Not great guidance, especially since it is mandatory. Flashing lights warning, sorry. So, I had a specific idea for the boss of Misery Mire. I wanted it to be a completely mindless creature which was just constantly chanting the same eldritch chant over and over and over again. I wanted it to be just some indication of, you know, because we've seen so many different aspects of the creatures and the bosses that have been cursed in the World of Ruin, or sorry, the Dark World. I wanted this to be a sign of things to come. The idea here was that this is the eventual fate of all creatures who are succumbing to the curse of malice. Just pure mindlessness. That's also shown in the trash mobs, where none of the trash mobs in the Dark World have any lines of dialogue because they are no longer capable of speech. So the whole dungeon, I think it was like 12 different people all voicing the same chant over and over and over throughout the whole dungeon. I don't think so, Arspruce, but it could have been. Those unintentional inspiration things. So this dungeon is the biggest maze in the game, unless you count Ganon's Tower. Point in fact, this is kind of a weird one for me, because I know this place a lot better from a speedrunning / randomizing route than I do from actually, you know, progressing through the dungeon. So here's hoping I don't get completely lost. There's a lot going on in here. Notice the nice green motif. Lovely slime-coated walls at several points. Oh, you don't have the big key. Yeah, exactly. Try hooks here. I believe... Well, Skullwoods also has a spare key, but I believe this dungeon does have a spare key, yes. I could get the butter sword right now, yes. Right, lower left. But I don't have a key. Upper left? No. Upper left leads to the second loop. Yeah, this leads here. I don't want to be here. Where do I start? Because lower right is big key, and lower left is small key. Also notice we're upping the general danger level of what the Desert Palace had already been doing. There's our small keys. Now we do want to go up. I mean, this place is huge. I'll show it off once we get the map. I believe the only, again, it's in terms of sheer size, the only dungeon that's bigger is Ganon's Tower. And yes, Wizrobes are back and being dicks, as is their wont. By this point, you really need to be checking every skull and every rock and everything. Oh yeah, there's that slime on the walls. Nice stuff. Insert disgusting meme here. There's also more random traversal moments in this dungeon, I've noticed. Sorry, just double checking something. This dungeon also loops in on itself a lot. It would be actually more accurate to say that there's not really loops in this dungeon so much as just open paths in all directions. I'm not sure how this one should review. I'm still debating here. Well, considering that this is the Dark World equivalent of the Desert Palace, that makes sense. Grab this. Do not forget to grab this. Go left. Oh yeah, I never really showed these off earlier. These things only attack when you do. Now that's some basic programming, but it is interesting to think about, and it does mean you can plan around them a bit. There we go. Oh yeah, also those things drop a lot of bombs for some reason. So I'm just going to use a trick to speed this up, but what you're supposed to do is move these blocks, go in, and then, you know, hit the thing, and then move these blocks and go in and hit the thing. We can do this. While the block is moving, it has no collision because it does not exist. It's a lot faster. I discovered that back in the day. On accident, it's worth noting. You're like, oh, I'm so good. No, I was just like mashing the buttons. It's like, wait, what? You must set fire to 4 torches to open the way forward. Thanks. Thanks, Sahasrara. Appreciate you. Big key. I should also mention there's a huge chunk of this dungeon that is completely optional. Not quite in the Skull Woods way, more in the there's just no real reason to go there and do it kind of a way. Oh god, frickin' Zelda won Wizrobes. Don't even remind me. Now we could just progress right now, but if we do so, interestingly enough, that's a mistake. This is probably the only part of this dungeon that might qualify for negative territory, is we are dumped. If we go through the dungeon naturally, we're already at the exit towards the boss area, but we cannot progress. If we go down there, we will find a puzzle we cannot solve. There's that map. And yeah, look at that place. Just look at it. Just look at B1 for a second. I guess that probably doesn't look huge. But look at it! Anyways. Let's go and get a refill while we're here. We probably need it. Hookshot, because I don't like to do this without doing that. First encounter with the eye lasers, by the way. Those guys are fun. Canis Samaria. You know, that's a good question, Ross. I don't know why the Dead Man's Folly is such a common thing in this series. Because it started here. Like, we've already seen that with Aghanim. Now we're a bunny. All is as it should be. Oh. I was trying to do that under the bridge. So the lower area is dark. Unlike a lot of dark dungeons, there's not really an ability to make it light. You just live with it being dark. So part of the dungeon is now living with limited information. Cool. It's another not great aspect of this place. Yeah, I guess the fight with Aghanim is significant. And indeed, the whole fight with Aghanim isn't really a gameplay thing, as weird as that sounds. It's a narrative one. No, they do not, as you can see, Drakaji. You could see a second ago. Something here. There, see? You can see the fireballs, but you cannot see the light they cast. Anyways, the whole point with Aghanim is you cannot defeat Aghanim. He's simply too evil. You have to reflect his evil power back onto him, which is a fairly common narrative thing, so it makes sense that they would lean that direction with it. And not to belabor this point, but once again, notice the density of puzzles here is quite large. How are we doing on fairies? Are we still at 4? Yes, okay, good. There's one of the optional rooms we could have gone into to get rupees. Love rupees. Well, you see, Ross. It's a commentary on the nature of glass as a feature. I don't know, dude. But what I do know is it's boss time. By the way, yet another boss that does not need its item to be defeated. The rate of attacks increases the less number of eyeballs there are. Vitreous is this thing's name. Oh yeah, and it hits like an absolute truck, by the way. It's actually pretty easy to dodge. It does a lot of damage. But just like Cold Stare is a little bit too boring to actually be a good boss fight. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the eyeball thing in Zelda started with this game. You can kill this guy in one shot with the light arrow, by the way. It's hilarious having the light arrow in this game, because it does, like, 5 times, I think, the damage of everything else. A lot. Ganon captured us because he couldn't break the seal of the wise men with his power alone. And then using the wizard Aghanim as his pawn, he drew us into the Dark World. After cracking the seal with our powers, he sealed us inside these crystals. He then gave us to his loyal monsters. But Ganon didn't plan on you getting this far. Now Princess Zelda is waiting for you inside of Turtle Rock. Please hurry. So now we're going to do the equivalent of the run. Because if you're paying attention, there's only one thing left. Turtle Rock, Death Mountain. And we haven't even figured out how to get up there yet. So, before we progress further, we're going to put the controller down. Pause. I'm going to settle. We're talking about morons for a second, because we got to talk about morons. It's very important. Going to delete some spam. Got to get rid of spam. Very important, very important. Alright. I'm gonna drink something because I've been drinking today. Here we go. Okay. So, one of the people does give you a hint to get the light arrows, which I believe we can get right now, actually. In fact, I don't know why I'm saying that. I know we could have done it. We could have done it earlier. There's the hint into using ether, which is funny, because it's already pretty clear about ether. There's a hint about how to defeat Hinoxes. I'm looking at all the fortune teller stuff. I said I was going to do this off camera, and I lied, apparently, because I did not have any time last night to do anything. In my defense, so I was playing a game with my nieces, right? So they've gotten into this thing where they have these superpowers where they can go freeze, and I have to freeze when they say that, because, you know, duh, right? What's really funny about that, though, at least to me, personally, is I've been trying to teach them things. So, like, for example, they'll freeze me, and I'm like, but then I'm like, and I break out because I'm too strong. They just can't freeze me unless they combine their powers. And the middle one has been getting good about being like, okay, we need to combine our powers. We need to freeze them at the same time. And the littlest one is not quite at the level of coordination yet, but she's learning. So if they both say it at the same time, I'm like, and then I'm stuck there. But last night I was doing this thing where I'll try to demonstrate a little bit here. So I'm frozen. I'm like, huh. And then they run off like, oh God, we got him. Because they think I'm going to break out. And then while they're away, I scooch a little bit closer to them. And then go back to my frozen pose. And they come back around the door and they're like, oh God, he's there. And they run off. And then I scooch closer. Same pose. Why does he keep moving? They were loving it. It was great. It was great. At one point, they actually hid in the bathroom. And so at that point, I was like down the hall from the bathroom. So like, and they run down the hall and they go into the bathroom and hide. And I very carefully and quietly walk up to the bathroom and freeze like right outside the door. And I had to wait there for like 2 or 3 minutes before they finally opened the door because they weren't hearing anything. And they see me like right there. And the reaction was extremely adorable because just like, he's right there. He's right at the door. Freeze, freeze, freeze. But he's frozen. But he's here. How is he here? He was over there. He's frozen. And then they like waited like I was going to attack them. Of course I didn't. I was frozen. Anyways, sorry. Okay, let's see. Master Sword, Wimperl. There's the smithy. Yep. There's the desert guy. That's how you get the 4th thing. Oh, excuse me. There's the smith's partner. There's the treasure piece. That's how we get the cape, which we already got. There's the person who tells us about the bomb. There's who tells us about the pyramid. And there's the silver arrows. Okay, that's what I thought. Not on purpose, Czar, but yes, similar to the statue things in Doctor Who, whatever they're called. Okay, so real quick mental check. We did that, we did that. We did that, we did that. We've gotten that, we've done that, we've gotten that, we've gotten that. We did that. We've gotten that. We did that. Scratch my eye for a second. We're full up on that. We've done that. We're not doing that because that's a waste of time. We're not doing that because that's a waste of time. We're not doing that because it's a waste of time. We've done that. We've done that. We've done that. We've finished that. We've swept that. We've got that. We've got that. So yeah, it really is just Death Mountain at this point. Okay. Case. Let's go up. So nothing indicates how to get up to Death Mountain. So what do? You're playing this game, you don't know where to do. You know that you have to get up to Death Mountain. How do you get up there? Now, believe it or not, as a kid, I pieced this together almost immediately. Because if you remember, we've already entered the Dark World from Death Mountain. And it's also the default spot for the fast travel. Oops, too far. So there's actually a couple of ways over up here. And we could just go straight to Turtle Rock, but, you know, let's go exploring a little bit first, just really quick. Because we've got rocks up here, which we couldn't lift the first time we were here. We got rocks up here we couldn't lift the second time we were here. We've got these glittering gemstones in the distance. No Gorons, they're all dead. Or, more accurately, weren't invented yet. They're all dead. Actually, canonically speaking, it's more likely that all the Gorons are just off in another realm. Wrong door alert. Like, if you remember, they're in the other places in the Oracle's games, which happened right after this, and those are just places other than Hyrule. So there you go. At some point in time, the Gorons just moved. So there's our way to the Dark World. The Gerudo, they're all dead. Also, the Gerudo never existed in these games, so they probably just don't exist, Cat. And I know what you're going to say, but it's in the timeline! And Nintendo, what are you doing? Get out of here, get out of here, shoot. Need to fumigate. No, these games have absolutely nothing to do with the timeline. There are no Gerudos in these games. What do we got? Hello, Evo. Wait a minute, Evo, you were Nintendo all along? I knew it. They do mention the Tribe of Evil a few times, but that's pretty much the same phrase throughout the whole franchise. As in, that's always just the phrase for demons, or Oni, or whatever the hell you want to call them. Oh, I'm aware, Cat. Unfortunately, at this point, the cat is out of the bag. Too many people are reporting on it, which means too many people are aware of it, which means Vim is almost assured to be taken down now. So that sucks. It's officially cat out of the bag moment. If you have anything you haven't already gotten from them, I suggest getting it now. It's going away. Yeah, I have another source too. My own personal archives I've built up over years. I actually have another source as well, but I am certainly not naming that one. So this is how you get to the top of Death Mountain. Notice it's the same music from Skull Woods, and look at that view. I know it's not much, I don't want to oversell it, but man, look at that. And the music really sells it. It's doubly worth noting that Death Mountain, supposed to be the final area of the game, and Skull Woods are the two places that are the most terrifying when it comes to the overall vibe and tone. But first we could go to Hookshot Cave, just really quick. You're probably wondering, why is this called Hookshot Cave? Well, you see, it's because of what I just did. I'm joking. Just bear with me for a second. Okay, so there's a ferry. It's kind of hanging out like you do. I know, right, Tully? I mean, we can't even get a president to give an executive order on anything, never mind something like copy wrong. So there's nothing here. But it's pretty easy to figure out what to do here because... So, back to Hookshot Cave. And yeah, I love the thunder flashes, but they're below us. Like, I love that added bit of atmosphere, that we are above the thunder. Above the lightning, you know. This is Hookshot Cave. There's a few ways through here, but obviously this is a gold mine for randomizers, because look at all these chests. Oh, come on, I had aimed that correctly, whatever. Game says no. Okay, that's just a bunch of money. Hey, we're capped on money again. That is, I believe, 3 times now. Now, there's a couple other items I could get, but I want to show off one quick thing. Those are Lionels right there. Those are the only Lionels in the game on this screen and the screen immediately to the left of it. As you can see, they hit for 2 full hearts if they hit you. Now, of course, we have the armor, so that only does 1 heart, but still. Captain is streaming, I like it. So there's Turtle Rock, but how do we get up there? strange. Of course, the answer is obvious. We're just going to do this. So you need Titan's Mitt. I told you, Titan's Mitt unlocks everything. Ladies and gentlemen, strike the rock with thunder. Oh, I think they're excellent, Eva, but I would love to hear your thoughts on them, legitimately. Ladies and gentlemen, Turtle Rock. This might be the best dungeon in the game. We'll see how this handles. I don't want to oversell, but oof. You possess the medicine of magic. If not, don't go into this dungeon. They also give you a full refill of magic right at the entrance. Absolutely, 100%. If I didn't want thoughts, I wouldn't be streaming. Or I'd be ignoring chat. So, this is one of those interesting dungeons. That's actually really frustrating. Because there's a very plotting nature to it. But I kind of like the pacing of it. Because it's not slow. It's deliberate, is the word I want to use. There are a couple of moments where you're like, oh, just get on with it. Like this one right here. By the way, you actually have control over this at each of those junctures. You can change the direction you go. So, did you know you're invincible when you're shooting a hookshot? So let me show that up properly. There you go. How many of you knew that? It's actually harder to time than it looks, but you are invincible while you're shooting the hookshot. If you ever need that extra second of life. All this for a key. Now, as with most of the Dark World dungeons, a fairly large portion of this dungeon is completely optional. We're going to not skip too much of it. Notice that there's a lot... So remember, these chests, or these rocks, I should say, are manually placed, and a lot of them drop 3 types of things. Bombs, hearts, magic. They know exactly what you need in this place. God damn it. No! Oh, you're Turbo Ted now. Die in a fire. What? What? Okay, you think I won't? You think I won't? Die in a fire. Extremely literally. Damn. What was I doing? Right, so. Yeah, I got Bombos, and I know how to use it. Most of these little side things contain magic ups. That's always helpful. Well, there's the compass. So this is probably one of the earliest dungeon... This is actually a tutorial room. It's supposed to be a trap room, but at the same time... See? So now we know how to correct our facing, which is kind of the theme of this dungeon. Faces and facing. The thing I find strange about Turtle Rock is it's one of the only dungeons in the game that doesn't actually have a unique tile set to it. A lot of the places have similar tile sets with some variances, but this place, it's just a mountain cave again. It's weird. So anyways, chain chomps. These guys hit like a truck. I don't recommend getting hit by these personally, if you can avoid it. I had to back off on that one. I can tell they were about to hit. Please? please. Ooh, yeah, these are frustratingly random. Sometimes. And yeah, they hurt. Of course they do. So welcome to the first of the big rooms. Believe it or not, this is actually a recovery room. For how mean this dungeon is, there's actually quite a few parts at which it allows you to recoup in both magic and health. Bunch of skulls, again, all manually placed, and a bunch of anti-fairies, which, as we already demonstrated, are basically fairies. Speaking of... Yep, nope, that's pretty normal. This is on the SNES. This came out in 1991. Damn it. There's a trick you can pull with those, but the anti-fairies pulled me out of it. I also do like how this dungeon allows you to turn a disadvantage into an advantage. There's a lot of anti-fairies in this dungeon. And they will drain your magic, which you need. They can also drain your magic and return health in return. Agreed, Doom Rider. In contrast to, say, the Ice Palace, which is just bullcrappy. There was clearly a lot more thought put into Turtle Rock, and we'll talk about some dungeon design when it comes to Ganon's Tower. Holy crap. There's our magic refill. Big magic refill, which, by the way, is a full magic refill. And notice how this is a good loop. Unlike the irritating loops of, say, both Palace, Ice Palace and Misery Mire, this gets us right back to where we need to go in seconds. And now we just take the other path. Notice how also it's the first path you should go through first, which makes sense, which is probably where I admit to my embarrassment that I can never remember which one to go through first. And I screwed it up again, hang on. There we go. You can completely skip that thing's extra health bars if you hit it a second time while it's already vulnerable, which you have to do a swing to do. Swing. So who here likes mimics? Anyone like mimics? How about giant eyes of death that are shooting lasers at you? This is Mimic Cave. I don't even remember what's in here. Oh yeah, I could have gotten and upgraded my sword, I just realized before doing this. Apparently it's a heart piece. I'll take that. That means I'm missing the 3 minigame heart pieces and one other one. What am I missing? There's the chest minigame, there's the digging minigame, there's the arrow minigame. That chest. I'm deliberately skipping that chest, although I suppose I could get it, just to be 100% about it. I didn't get that chest. I think that's it. Okay, so I know where all the heart pieces are. Okay, cool. Anywho, back into it. I did. So here's the final shield. This reflects basically everything. There's not a lot of shots that'll go through this shield. In fact, I don't think there's any actual projectiles that go through that shield. Except, like, Ganon's attacks, and that's it. Well, we'll find out, won't we, Trahexia? If you can think of one, I'm listening. And there's that trick again, in case you missed it last time. Sorry, just debating. Big dungeon, by the way. but in a good way. Now, this is the maze room. There is no lighting up this room. I'm just going to give that away. So I hope you have your route memorized, because if you don't, you're going to spend some time navigating in the dark. There's a lot of malleability to these paths, and they only connect in certain areas. You can always tell, because you can always see it right there. Anyways, that's my route. There are also some health and magic refills in that room. You can also get another exit here. You're probably wondering, what's the point of getting an exit here? It helps to reset you a little bit in case you die here. Like, that's pretty much the benefit of doing that. Like that. Pretty sure none of the rest of these contain anything worth a damn. Yeah, by the way, if you're paying attention, that is the second mid-mission checkpoint this dungeon has. Wow, 1 rupee. Come on, I'm down here, I'm down here. Oh, there you go. Give me a moment, Evo. So I'm a little low on health, and I kind of want to fix that without dying. Perfect. Okay, there we go. I do agree about the color palette, especially since you probably haven't seen the light world. The light world is extremely bright and colorful, very, very primary colors compared to this. I do absolutely agree about the animations, and I do think that the effort put into making so many of the dungeons in this game look distinct is absolutely something worthy of note. We're going to have to debate exactly how many positives we give to artwork on this one, because this is kind of a weird one. Compared to your usual... Nah, I didn't mean to get that right. Oh, whatever. Also, Veilguard exists. Alright, so, boss time. Twinrova, a.k.a. Trinex. It's much easier if you've upgraded the sword already. I like this fight. It's actually deceptively simple, especially if you know what you're doing. This is also the only time you need the ice wand in, like, the whole game. So, nope, you got it already. The game does lead you right to it, right after the Eastern Palace, so I'm not going to ding it for that. No screw around, no screw around. Oh, before you ask, yes, this adds ice physics to the ground. And these spikes no longer hurt once the boss is dead. Very nice touch, by the way, because otherwise you could soft lock yourself in here. So we did it. We rescued Ryokami. I appreciate your coming so far to rescue me, as I thought you are the legendary hero. I felt this from the first time we met. Ganon is waiting inside of his tower to pass through the gate linking the two worlds. Once Ganon enters the light world, it is unlikely anyone can stop him. But if he stays in the closed space of this world, you can find him wherever he runs. Now go to the Tower of Ganon. We will use our combined powers to break the barrier. Let's return peace to the country without fail. So, as a quick aside, I like that bit of narrative tidbit. It's a really small thing, it's not positive-worthy, but the idea is actually pretty simple. The Dark World is a contained space. I mean, sure, it's the same size as the Light World, but the implication is clear. The Light World is just part of one kingdom of a whole planet. And we know, thanks to the Oracle's games, and Link's Awakening, that there are other countries and other realms out there. Duh, right? But the Dark World is contained. This is it. There are no lands beyond this point, because this was never actually supposed to be a whole world. Just one little spot that contained the golden power and was eventually corrupted into this. So... as long as Ganon is here, we can find him wherever he goes, because there's just a finite amount of places he can run to. Now, I do want to do a couple of things very quickly. So we're gonna do a couple of things very quickly here before we go hit up Ganon's Tower. Yeah. Play all of what, Uzumaki? I'm sorry. But you see what I mean here, Evo, if you're still there, which you probably aren't. And you're not, if you're still watching, which you probably aren't. The colors of the Light World are in complete contrast to the Dark World. Oh no, Zelda's definitely the mage. I know they always call Ganon the sorcerer or whatever. Some versions he's actually called a warlock. But no. Instead, it's Spike Cave time. There's 3 ways through here that I know of. One is the Staff of Invincibility, one is the Magic Cape, and one is just bodying your way through it with enough health. I forget how many hearts it takes, but you have to be very precise, and you can use the hookshot to speed this up a little bit. I have no idea, Uzumaki. That's such a strange question. Do you mind if I ask why you're asking? So there's the Cane of Invincibility. It makes you invincible. I'm more or less literally just getting this for the sake of completion. Alright, okay. It does this. Whee! And then you run out. I mean, the worst boss in this game is probably Cold Stare, followed immediately by Vitreous. But I would say those are the only 2 bad bosses. You can also drop down to here. We've actually never been down here. There's not really much here, appropriately enough. But what there is getting the hell out of here. Nobody likes this place. Yeah, Bob got his start early. Yes, no, that's where I want to go. Yeah, the treasure chest game is just... Like I said, we're not doing the mini-games. We generally don't do the mini-games. But I'll tell you right now, so the treasure chest game is you get to open a few chests. One of them contains a heart piece. If you don't open it, you can spend more rupees to open more chests. And there's the digging game. You get a certain amount of seconds to dig. If you dig up the heart piece, you win. If you don't, well, you pay again. And there's the arrow mini game, which I've actually already shown off briefly, and that's exactly what it sounds like. But first, I want to get something else. This is the Ultra Mega Death Bomb. You're fine, Ross. I feel bad because my stream was terrible. How many of you have accidentally dropped this bomb early and had to go buy it again because you automatically and without thinking about it hit A, as in the thing that allows you to dash? I have done that so many times. Even right now, I have basically taken my hand off of the controller just to make sure that I don't do that. Now, for those of you not aware, it actually tells you flat out, if you hit A, it will drop the bomb. So it tells you that. It's not like it's out of nowhere, but man. The SNES Evo, the original. The GBA, this game is only on, I'm saying that wrong. There's only 2 versions of this game. The original SNES and the GBA version. The GBA version is just kind of worse in every way. To give Ganon his last moment, you definitely need them. But what that's supposed to say is to kill Ganon, but this is when they were censoring the word kill for some reason. I know I don't quite have the figure of a fairy. Ganon's cruel power is to blame. You must defeat Ganon. But hang on, there's one last thing I want here. 1991, yes, Ross. Now we have silver arrows, which hit like a truck. Nothing in the game does as much damage as silver arrows. They are bonkers strong. But you know what's also cool? Is butter. This is the butter sword. I love that sound effect. It's so meaty, and it's nicely bassy. It sounds like you're running electricity along metal. Like you just, oh, I love the viscerality of this sword. But as you can see, this is why they call it the butter sword. Brilliant, love that. That's it. Those are the only 2 things she upgrades. She will refill a bottle for free if you happen to have a free one, which, of course, I do not. Okay, so let's do this really quick. I like a metal sheet being flung around. I like it. Listen, Fi's fine. She's fine. The butter sword does tons of damage, of course. You might wonder, well, hang on. Where's the second armor upgrade? In the last dungeon. Of course. Thank you. So that's every item, and that's every upgrade except for the one that's in the final dungeon, and every heart piece except for the one we're not getting. So that's as close to 100% as we are getting. Oh, you will, Evo. You will. No, we started this yesterday evening, and we're going to beat this today before the lunch break. This is not a long game. And again, notice that I have 99% of the game, and this is still only taking me 2 shifts to beat. No, the last heart just is boring and pointless. There's no real reason to bother. I actually went to the wrong spot. I think you mean story positive for that, best in slot mark. In which case, yes, I agree completely. But we'll see how long this takes. I am trying not to rush, and of course we do have Ganon's Tower left, which is the biggest dungeon of the game by far. How many of you know how many treasure chests are in Ganon's Tower? Just a random question. 5. There are 24 notable chests in Ganon's Tower. There's actually more than that, but there's 24 that matter. When doing a randomizer, as you're going through Ganon's Tower, the guess is how many chests do you open before you actually get the big key and can therefore progress? Because to explain Ganon's Tower properly, Ganon's Tower is 2 completely separate dungeons tacked onto each other, with different themes and different approaches and different styles to them. There's the actual tower itself. That requires... God damn it. That requires the big key to even access. So, you know, that's what your goal is. In order to get the big key, you have to go down into the basement. The basement is huge, and again has 24 chests in it. Now, obviously, we know exactly what the big key is, because it's static. It's a non-randomizer. But If you're doing a randomizer, you're just going down there and counting and hoping that you'll get it before long. I have gotten the big key on chest like 22 or 23 before. I've never gotten a 24. My friend, who usually does these with me, has gotten the big key on like chest 3. Flashing lights warning. Also, we're closing off the guessing game pretty soon. If you haven't, this is a good time to guess. Always go left first. Down into the depths. So, every Zelda dungeon in this game, I don't know why I'm calling them Zelda dungeons, every dungeon in LTTP follows this same mentality. But I don't know, something about Ganon's Tower just takes this mentality and flings it up to 11. Every room is a puzzle. And the intensity and density of those puzzles is substantially increased as a consequence of this being the final dungeon. Speaking of which, this is the final dungeon. This is Ganon's Tower, if I haven't made that very clear. Listen, I don't know about you, Yada. I carry maidens around in my pocket all the time. That's just normal. So there's the map. And there's the basement. Again, that probably doesn't look particularly big, but just, I mean, it says the first floor, but you get my point. Look at that nonsense. The basement is huge, and loops in on itself several times, at least 4 times that I know of. Then there's the tower, which is, well, that. Which game have I played that has the worst puzzles ever? Missed! I'm joking. Just trying to troll. Too obvious with my bait. I need to be less... I accept the damage. Obvious. I accept that as punishment for bad bait. However, the actual worst puzzle I've ever seen is in a game made by the miscreators, which is what immediately made me think of that. Yeah, this is... I've never actually played Riven. Abduction. That actually is it, Frieza. Holy crap. Yeah, Abduction, I never even beat that game, and I honestly don't think I ever will. That's a good point. What's another word for basement? I need another word for basement. Alright, so... Cellar. So this is the randomizer room. You probably haven't noticed, but I've been naming a lot of the rooms as we've been going throughout the game. That's because in most randomizer communities, there tends to be specific names for specific rooms, for obvious reasons, really. Just to categorize and to mark them, like, hey, where are you going? Well, I'm going to check out the such and such. Okay, sure. You know, stuff like that. This is the randomizer room. The reason this is the randomizer room, I can't remember what it is because there is no reason to go in here unless you're on a randomizer. God, where's the damn thing? There it is. It's just 4 random chests that contain nothing. Like, what is the point of this room? It's a secret on top of a secret, and all it gives you is bombs and arrows. No, you are quite correct, MPPY. The Metroid, the Super Metroid and LTP randomizer is, it's a trip. It's also a bit meaner than your standard one. Pay attention, pay attention. That is correct, Imidine. You can get bombs and missiles and the frickin' grapple beam in LTTP, and you can get, you know, the hook shot over in Metroid. So this room has a few ways to solve it. I like to call this the screw you room. By the way, if you're noticing, so each dungeon has had a theme to it. That's pretty normal, right? I don't mean story-wise. I don't mean aesthetically. I mean gameplay-wise. There's different types of puzzles. You know, we had falling in the Tower of Hyrule. We had water in the Swamp Palace. We had traps in the Skull Woods. This dungeon's theme is everything. This is the Wily Castle of LTTP. It is designed to encourage you to have done absolutely everything, and thus is testing us. The final exam concept. Pretty normal concept. So, I hope you remembered that you can light stuff on fire at a distance in order to be able to see where the hell you're going. Now, these platforms are here regardless. You don't actually need to light them up to see them. But, as you can see, it's a little helpful. There's also only the one torch with which to do so. Also, the skull that reveals that always drops a bomb. I do not know, Savicon. I'm trying to... This playthrough is so weird for me. Because I'm trying to show off stuff rather than just solve it. Hey, Offshore Twitch account. Haven't seen you in a minute. So, suddenly, boss refights. But we have the silver arrows. For the record, these are the exact same fights as before, with very, very little significant changes, like in this case, the fact that the floor is ice. That's it. Big key. I do think the fact that there is no final dungeon music is not a great thing. Again, it would be until Link's Awakening until they would actually invent that particular concept. Fairy room, which I'm pretty sure we haven't used any still. Yep. Okay, cool, cool, cool. No, the boss refights are sufficiently different that I don't think it deserves a negative. Here's the fun thing. You go through all that, you get here. What do you get? The final armor upgrade. Now we take quarter damage. But we could still go do the entire other half of the basement. Now, we're not going to, because there really is no reason to. But I just wanted to point out that it's still there. Probably not, Offshore Twitch account. Nico would probably kill me. Quite literally. Okay, fine. Yeah, the Moldorm refight might actually qualify as a negative, if not for the fact that it doesn't. You'll see why when we get to it. You can also see why I decided to have all of the dialogue in Ganon's Tower done by the Knights of Hyrule, aka the bosses of the Light World dungeons. Oh, absolutely, DBD. Oh, you mean if there's a 100% map category? I don't know of one. I'm not saying there isn't one. But I don't know of one. I mean, I read all of my comments, so yeah, I saw that. Daddy's back, baby. Third 3D, end of an era. I saw that. Ah! Keep getting knocked off plane. There we go. Lining up my shots. We actually already answered that one, Trihexia. Spirit Tracks is probably the only real viable answer to that one. So notice that, again, they're just combining themes all over the place. These things are from Palace 2. The enemies we just fought are from Palace 1. This is how you get over here, by the way. How many of you have never figured out how to get over here? Be honest. Be honest with me. Through the refill room. We don't really need, but... Of course, getting back is easy. So now we have the Gauntlet, like Hyrule Castle Tower. These are all red rooms. And they escalate. First you have some conveyor belts and some enemies. Mid-tier enemies, but still, conveyor belts. Then you have some mid-tier enemies, a conveyor belt, and a freaking Bombos who's shooting you the entire time. Then you have conveyor belts, mid-tier enemies, 2 Bombos that are shooting you all the time, and spikes in the middle. Notice how most of this is environmental escalation rather than enemy escalation. In fact, we're only now getting to the point where we see red enemies at all. And we're on the 3rd room now. Or 4th room, excuse me. And notice they reduce the number of enemies to compensate for the fact that they have the harder enemies. So we have 1 red Stalfos and 1 red Lizalfos, I think, technically. They're not called Lizalfos, but that's functionally what they are. Oh, and ice physics. Gotta have ice physics. And here's our escalation for these guys. So before we fought the boss on ice physics, now we're fighting the boss while a turret is shooting us the entire time. I would say this is a little bit more challenging than your average Zelda game, yes. Like, I would call this game harder than Ocarina, to use a direct comparison. I know I'm probably not showing that off very well, but I am very well practiced at this game. So, quick refill room. Notice there's a lot of refill rooms. Going back to that concept of being difficult rather than being unfair. Also, our first real example... missed. Of the, Lizalfos... or not Lizalfos, right? The Wizrobe Stalfos. There we go. And then we get some fun. Then another red room. Once again, an escalation. Screw that up completely. I believe Bombos couldn't be killed until Ocarina. It's the first time. Another fun room. Actually got really bad RNG there. Wow. So now we have an interesting one. We have an obstacle, which is the flame, you know, the Mario ring. We've got things that are deliberately blocking our path, so we have to go through this first. But we don't want to knock out the other ones, and we have to do this all on a timer. So we have to use this, and it's best if we use this. Then we get a room full of hell. That's some refill. Gotta have the refill. Then another room of hell. Now this is interesting because you're probably thinking, that room was easy. Well, you're supposed to fall back into it after you fail at this room a couple of times. Also, do not run out of magic at this point in the game. Like at that exact room. It is not pleasant. Thanks for the bombs, I guess? Why is it giving me so many bombs? God. Anyways, the next room's a bomb room. This is a timing puzzle. This is, I think, one of the first ones of these we've actually seen in LTTP. These are all over the place in later Zeldas. Like, if you're paying attention, Four Swords Adventures has tons of those. So, this is kind of an interesting cake puzzle. We have to make our way into the middle, and there's two types of enemies which completely ignore us and follow their own set patterns. Come on, there we go. One of which can be used to our advantage. By the way, I'm kidding off the guessing game in about a room. Here's our last appearance of Ryokami. She dies in... I can't believe it didn't hit. 2 hits of the Butter Sword. You're supposed to have to do this in order to get the validation chest. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Is this run valid? Is this run valid? Okay. We'll get the validation chest. It's not a complete run if you don't get the validation chest. So, one last room of obstacles, almost entirely environmental terrain stuff here. Ice, conveyor belts, guys who have shields, spikes, bouncy pads, the ultimate enemy, a staircase. And that's Ganon's Tower. Listen, I don't want to see too much of your chest, Talia. That might get me in trouble with Twitch. So, if it's not obvious, I really like this dungeon. It is a fantastic final exam, final boss thing. It is here to make sure that you are... Make sure it's right. It's the final exam. I don't know what else to call it. You have so many different types of puzzles and encounters, terrain enemies, mixes of the two. It's very, very smart, and it never goes over the top, right? It never actually gets into the point of being bullcrap. It is a very solid final dungeon. It's actually probably one of the better ones in the franchise. And I mean that with absolute sincerity. So I'm now going to pause the entire stream. Could I get some hit the stream bakes really quick, please? And I'm giving you a second to get your guesses in while I answer Fuzzy Duck's question. So, the Zelda block included Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Simply with the inclusion of those two games, we knew with total certainty that Breath of the Wild would be the first game played and Tears would be the last, because they have to be as separate from each other as possible, right? Otherwise, fatigue and aggravation are just going to become absolute for both you and me. So, once that's established, now we part and parcel the rest of the Zeldas as far as they are supposed to be played with regards to gameplay style, because the whole point of doing a block is to compare and contrast how the games review against each other, right? Like, I'm not going to review LTTP and then Ocarina, because there's not really a lot of cross-pollination there. They're two very, very different styles of games. That's why we have 2D Zeldas and then 3D Zeldas. So once we decided that there was just the 2D Zeldas, we do what I usually prefer to do and start with the worst, which is Zelda 1. And then the second worst, which is Zelda 2, and so forth and so on, until we get to the good stuff, and we end with the best, which is Link Between Worlds. I was originally going to go LTTP, then Four Swords, then Link Between Worlds, but it's just a little bit too nice to actually do LTTP right before Link Between Worlds. So those two got connected to each other. As for the 3D games, those are mostly bundled up for the same general reason, and the one that's at the end, Twilight Princess, is at the end because it's probably the best. Anyways. So, really, really good dungeon. %. If I had played the GBA version of LTTP, I guarantee you, objectively, there would be more negatives, and there would be no more positives. So the score would be worse. Also, if you type into chat LTTP, you'll get a link to the theater for this specific game. Where's the guessing list? Nobody typed guess, so we're just going to have to do this myself. Give me my guessing sheet so I can lock it down. Although Walker said he couldn't do it. I think Walker said that. I don't know the point of the block puzzle, though. Oh, Bragwin did it. Okay, cool. A dozen small reasons, Melkor Blade. Where's Walker? Where's Walker? Where's Walker? Okay, Walker was in there. Yay. Yeah, less buttons, more audio spam, worse design around the control screen. You remember how in Super Mario Bros. 2, when we played the GBA version of that, the game was worse because the screen was shrunk and they didn't adapt the game to that? By contrast, in Mario 3, they did adapt to that, if you remember. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. So, shrunk screen, worse palette, worse music, worse controls, and audio spam. I think there's other things too, but those are the big ones. Okay, so hope you got your guesses in, because I'm locking it down. As soon as it lets me. You're right, ISC. I don't know what I was thinking. Google. Google. There it goes. Jesus, wake up. Someone DDoSing Google right now? Jesus. Okay. Let's go beat the game. It is great that you had come all the way here, Runner. I'm very happy to see you again, but you better believe we will not have a third meeting. Prepare to meet your doom. Yes, Spartan. Wink, wink. I am definitely playing this on the Switch. Winky, winky, wink. When I was a kid, I was always weirded out why Ganon was even here. Like, what? We haven't talked about you since, like, 3 days ago, real time. Who's that Yahoo? And this is where that thing comes in. This could be better, but I like this cutscene. He can fly anywhere he wants to, but only within the confined space of the Dark World. And we chase him right here. This is the cutoff point. Once we drop into there, we're in the final boss fight. But this is the actual, you know, if you want to go finish up the game, this is when you do it. A boy like you could give me so much trouble. It's unbelievable that you defeated my alter ego Ganon, the Dark Wizard, twice. But I'll never give you the Triforce. I'll destroy you and make my wish to conquer both the light and the dark worlds come true without delay. So, he does actually have HP, so the Butter Sword does actually help with this. We want to push him through his phases as fast as possible. We're already past phase 1. That's good. We're already in phase 2. Notice he does a crap ton of damage. Reminder that we have the level 3 armor here. We've already got him to phase 3, which is the important part. Getting him to phase 3 as quickly as possible is very important, because phase 1 and 2 are the hardest ones to dodge by a wide margin. Once you've passed phase 1, you're actually kind of already into the clear. You're doing well, lad. But can you break through the secret technique of darkness? On guard. If you let it happen. Oh, it looks like I actually successfully got the bug. I wasn't even trying for it. Alright, whatever. I'll accept that. So if you get the bug, the lower right thing never goes out. That's the bug. Sorry. I didn't even try for that, really. And that's game. It's one of the reasons I like the Four Swords take on Ganon. In an age of unprecedented peace and prosperity, he hated it. And time. Welcome, runner. I am the essence of the Triforce. The Triforce will grant the wishes in the hearts and mind of the person who touches it. If a person with a good heart touches it, it'll make his good wishes come true. If an evil-hearted person touches it, it grants his evil wishes. The stronger the wish, the more powerful the Triforce's expression of that wish. Ganon's wish was to conquer the world. That wish changed the Golden Land to the Dark World. Ganon was building up his power here so he could conquer the Light World and make his wish come completely true. Absolute power, Loke. But now you have totally destroyed Ganon. His Dark World will vanish. And if you pay attention to the timeline, no, the one that actually matters, not the official one, Ganon never recovers from this. Not really. After this, he is partially resurrected into a mindless form, and he never gets his mind back. And then, while he is a raving, mindless beast, he causes a lot of damage, but then is destroyed at the end of Zelda 1, and never resurrected. The end. The Triforce is waiting for a new owner. Its golden power is in your hands. Now touch it with a wish in your heart. That is a good question, Savicom. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this out there. I love this ending. The Return of the King at Hyrule Castle. Remember, he died in the intro. And for the first time, the knights are not, corrupted or possessed or whatever. The sage is brought back to life in the sanctuary. Sahasrara is now home, along with his grandson and his wife. The brothers have made up. Yeah, it's a full world rewind, and honestly, I like that. I usually don't like this kind of a reset button thing, but the fact of the matter is the world was so devastated and awful, and so many people were dead, and there really was no recovery possible without this kind of a Hail Mary. I don't know, in this case, it makes sense to me. And I'm with it. Because all he wished for was things to go back to the way it was. And yeah, it's the friggin' Triforce. Flippers for sale. By all accounts, Blade Taval, he would have come back mindless. There's Dame Celeste. I don't remember who voiced the witch. We did also earn this ending. It's helpful when you earn it. The Twin Lumberjacks. Yes, it does, Dakota. Flute Boy plays again, along with his father. Evo, who voiced this fairy, has been returned to her normal form. For all intents and purposes, Blade Taval, yeah, this is the end of Ganon, whether you consider the official timeline or the actual one. I think you're right, Savicom. The bug-catching kid. Okay, those are some of the best breadsmiths in the business. Breath of the what? I'm sorry, ISC. What does that have to do with anything? What does Ocarina fit into this? It does not, which is the point. The more you adhere to the fiction that all the Zelda games connect to each other, the less sense it makes. And that's just the reality of it. And canonically, she does. That's the funny part. I like this little tidbit. It's a very, very, very minor touch. But we get to see, for just a few seconds, the Dark World in its final moments, before it returns to being the Golden Land. To answer you in full, Ocarina, if we use the official timeline, happens before this. In fact, it is a direct prequel to this, even though that makes absolutely no sense. So, Ocarina happens, and then the timeline splits into 3. And one of those timelines is Link dies, and that leads into LTTP. No, that doesn't make any sense. It never has. Yeah, Breath is so on its own, the only game it even vaguely connects to is Skyward. Of course, Kitten Fan. But yes, Ocarina connects to Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks, and nothing else. So, pluses to outro, because I think that's a good damned ending. Probably not Medallion. But Link just stays in the woods like, yeah, I'm good. Tries to get close to Soraya. Never actually does. Because she never ages. Well, he does, and he slowly turns into a skeleton, and then he dies. The end. Oh, sorry, I always forget Majora's is connected to Ocarina. Yeah, sorry, Majora's is also part of that timeline. In the loosest way possible, but it's still there. Let's see how our rating was. We probably died a lot, because, you know, we kept saving quitting. Well, first the Deku Tree probably would have died before it could have conveyed anything to him, and he probably would have never left, and that would have been the end of that, just like Kitten Fan mentioned. Five actual deaths. It's actually a little high for me. So, while we wait, let's do the audit. Let's see. We'll play some ocarina music. That feels appropriate. We're going to turn it down so you don't die. Oh, you know what? You're right. You're right. Actually, we're not going to play ocarina music. You're absolutely right. I apologize. I even prepped this. That might be a bit too loud.
Long ago, in the beautiful kingdom of Hyrule, surrounded by mountains and forests, legends told of an omnipotent and omniscient golden power that resided in a hidden land. Many people aggressively sought to enter the hidden golden land, and no one ever returned. One day, evil power began to flow from the golden land. So the king commanded 7 wise men to seal the gate to the land of the golden power.
That seal should have remained for all time. But when these events were obscured by the mists of time and became legend, a mysterious wizard known as Ganon came to Hyrule to release the seal. He eliminated the good king of Hyrule.
Through evil magic, he began to make descendants of the 7 wise men vanish, one after another. And the time of destiny for Princess Zelda is drawing near.
Help me. Please help me. I am a prisoner in the dungeon of the castle. My name is Zelda. The wizard, Ganon, has done something to the other missing girls. Now, only I remain. Ganon has seized control of the castle and is now trying to open the 7 wise men's seal. I'm in the dungeon of the castle. Please help me.
Law, I'm going out for a while. I'll be back by morning. Don't leave the house.
What are you doing up this late, kid? You can stay up when you're grown up. Now go home. I see you brought a map so you don't get lost. You look strong for a kid. How much can you lift? I'll bet you can't wait till you're old enough to use a sword. That mark on your map must be your destination. You can often find valuables in chests. Us soldiers have been around, kid. You can learn a lot from us. But you already know that.
Hey! You're not allowed in the castle, son! Go home and get some sleep. No, seriously, go. Go home! It's raining. Look, getting wet. I still see you down there. Are you stopping? That's the road home. Yes, go. No. Son! Hey! Get back here! Larry! I need you to get down here!
Help me. I am in the dungeon of the castle. I know there's a hidden path from outside of the castle to the gardens inside.
Somebody's coming! Around the corner! I need to... Can you...
Law. I didn't want you involved in this. I told you not to leave the house. Take my sword and shield and listen. You can focus power in the blade, then release it using the secret technique handed down by our people. Law, you can do it. Save the princess. Zelda is you.
Stupid, worthless old man. Should have drawn his sword. Hey, kid, get out of here.
Yeah? Got him. What, you want my stupid kid? Fine. Come here.
Stupid, worthless kid. Shouldn't be where he doesn't belong.
Hey, you! What you doing here, kid? Get back here so I can... That's it, you stupid little rat.
Intruder!
Oh, think you could slip past me, eh? Let me show.
Hey, Charlie, where'd that lazy sod get off to?
You want some of this, do you? Come on, hit me again, I dare you.
All of the lines were written by me.
here. I will end your suffering.
I've got your back, boss. You won't get past me.
Next.
Oh, thank you, Lore. I had a feeling you were getting close. Lore, listen carefully. The wizard is magically controlling all of the soldiers in the castle. I fear the worst for my father. The wizard is an inhuman fiend with strong magical powers. Do you understand? Alright, let's get out of here before the wizard notices. I know a secret path, but first we have to go to the first floor. Let's go. I do hope Cora's okay.
Charlie, you doing okay there?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Actually, the lines were written, then I recorded the gameplay with the lines in mind. Then I did an editing pass on the lines.
Oh, thank you for sparing the soldiery. They know not what they do. There is a secret passage in a throne room that leads to the sanctuary. I'm sure the old man there will help us. That ornamental shelf should open. Do you have a light? It's pitch dark inside and you can't see without one. If you're ready, then let's go. Help me push it from the left. The tunnel escape was built before my time. My father discontinued upkeep some years ago. We're a long way from the imprisoning war, he said. Ah, that's better. After passing through these sewers, we will be very close to the sanctuary. Let's be careful. I used to come here to be alone with my thoughts when I was young. It's gotten worse since then. The sanctuary is just beyond that door. Pull the switch over there. You have to pull the lever to open the door.
Princess Zelda, you are safe. Is this your doing, Lore?
Yes, it was Laura who helped me escape from the dungeon. When I was captive, the wizard said, once I finished with you, the final one, the seal of the wise men will open. Lore, you must not let the land of Hyrule fall into the wizard's clutches. If he releases the seal of the 7 wise men, evil power will overwhelm this land. Before that happens, before it is too late, destroy the wizard before he destroys all of Hyrule. You can do it. You can.
I sense that a mighty evil force guides the wizard's actions and augments his magical power. The only weapon potent enough to defeat the wizard is the legendary Master Sword. It is said that the village elder is a descendant of one of the 7 wise men. Maybe he can tell you more. I will mark his house on your map, but watch your every move. I am certain that the castle soldiers will be looking for you now. I will hide Princess Zelda here. Do not worry. Seek the elder. Good luck.
Oh, trying to break into the sanctuary, are you? Oh no, you don't! Get back here, you miscreant! I said get back here!
Hey, it's that stupid kid. Charlie, help me get him.
Come back here.
Oh, it's you, Law. What can I do for you, young man? The Elder? Oh, no one has seen him since the wizard began collecting victims. What? Master Sword? Well, I don't remember the details exactly, but long ago, a prosperous people known as the Hylia inhabited this land. Legends tell of many treasures that the Hylia hid throughout the land. The Master Sword, a mighty blade forged against those with evil hearts, is one of them. People say that now it is sleeping deep in the forest. Anyway, look for the Elder. There must be someone in the village who knows where he is. You take care now, Law.
Yo, Lo, this house used to be a hideout for a gang of thieves. What was their leader's name? Oh yeah, his name was Blind, and he hated bright light. A lot.
You, sir, have you been going through life without one of my hold anything bottles? Well, step right up and make your life complete. I've got one on sale now for the low, low price of 100 rupees. Goodbye. Thanks a lot. Now, hold it above your head for the whole world to see, okay? It's good for business.
Oh, lore. The rumors say you kidnapped the princess, but I still trust you.
Hi, Laura. Hey, Elder? Are you talking about Grandpa? Okay, but don't tell any of the bad people about this. He's hiding near the palace past the castle. I'll mark the spot on your map. Here you are. So long.
I can't go out because I'm sick. People say that I just caught this cold from the evil air that has come down off the mountain. This is my bug catching net. I'll use it whenever I'm better, but for now, I'll lend it to you. I hope I get well soon.
Whoa, saw her.
A very nice young lady at the waterfall a-wishing in the hills where the river begins. Lore, you should meet her at least once. I'm sure you will like her.
My son would like to play the flute, but he went to look for the golden power and has not returned. I wonder where he is, and what he's doing now.
Truly, I am the greatest voice actor to ever play Link. I hesitate to interrupt this stellar performance, as indeed it is always a treat to rewatch these. But I'm almost done with the numbers. Very, very close. Jesus Christ. Sorry. Where am I? Am I here? Final score. Plus 26 to story. We've seen better, but not by much. This game does a lot with a little. There's good moments, there's this incredible atmosphere. And the game looks and sounds good even to this very day, despite its age. This game is what? Like, it's not 30 years old. How old is this game? 33 years old? Something like that? You know, that's a good question, Dakota. I will admit I sort of cheat when it comes to genre categorization for the Zeldas. I just put them as Zeldas. I just call them Zelda games. And indeed, there's actually going to be some future games which we may cover someday, which will also qualify as Zeldas, like the Darksider games. But yeah, no. Would I... if you put a gun to my head and force me to piece together what genre this would be, I guess Dungeon Crawler is the only answer I could give to that. Feels inaccurate, but I don't know what else to add. So, 26 plus into story. That's really, really good. That's 4.2 pluses per hour, although that's entirely because of how short the game is, and 100% ratio. The reason I bring that up is this is a 6-hour game, making this the shortest game we have played by 3 hours so far. And keep in mind, I was taking my time, but LTTP is very, very, very short. That's one of its benefits. This is the only Zelda game so far that I have not given any negative to padding or pacing or seconds and minutes. Any of the mush, no grind, none of that. Because there is none. This is just a very, very, very tight experience. This is the Chrono Trigger of the Zeldas. Gameplay-wise, this does not have the most gameplay score, because, you know, that would go to Four Swords Adventures. But this still got a very, very solid plus 57, which is a crazy 9.21 pluses per hour. Again, short game. And an 86% ratio, which is very, very solid. Before I give you the golden number, a couple of little comparisons here. If we look at the gameplay ratio, this is not the highest gameplay ratio we've gotten. That would actually be Four Swords Adventures. That's true. Cat. That's also, it's almost there, Savacom, yeah. Also, Cadence of Hyrule, which I qualified as this, also got a very, very high gameplay ratio. But otherwise, that puts this as the third highest gameplay ratio. Obviously, the highest density in both axes, just because of the shortness of the game. As I mentioned, Four Swords Adventures has more gameplay, and Minish Cap would be right behind it. Story-wise, Minish Cap is still the reigning champion there. LTTP actually takes the number 2 slot, and then after that is Breath of the Wild. But that brings us to the golden number. So let's get this out of the way. We know this is going to score well. So it's got 2 competitors towards the top. One is Minish Cap with 215, and one is Four Swords Adventures with 198. So those two, those are the champions right now. This game got, if I could get a drum roll, please. $200. So you already know it beat Four Swords. 46.11. LTTP takes the throne for Minish Cap by a solid 30. And, you know, I stand behind that. It's got better density, it's got better ratios, and while it doesn't have as good of a story, and it doesn't, it absolutely nails it in every other respect. So where's the guessing sheet really quick here? It looks like that's going to... hang on. It looks like that's actually a tie, if I'm reading that correctly, from Diabeepus and Nightwing. So we'll go ahead and give it to both of you. Congrats, both of you. I mean, Twilight Princess is probably going to crush it on both axes, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So that's going towards the BRPG block. Forza Horizon 5. And Hitman 3. Sorry, I have to spell Nightwing each time. Twilight Princess does have kissing. And Midna. But unfortunately, it does have kissing and Midna. So, good and bad, right? Let's go into the BRPG block. Outer Worlds 2 and Stellaris. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an excellent game. And it has been a treat going through it. I hope you have enjoyed as much as it is within possibility. I think I'm going to go ahead and follow on the suggestion to leave the theater running. I'm going to cut off the recording, don't worry. But for those of you on the VOD, if you want to watch it, well, I'll put a link to the theater in this VOD just for funsies.